Welcome back to another episode of the Family Album. I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
Last week, you heard us discuss Mercurial World by Magdalena Bay and Alive 2007 by Daft Punk in our last regular episode of the season.
And spoiler alert, we did both turn out to be alive in 2007.
That's true. We did.
No
we discovered.
shot.
Shut the fuck up. We didn't introduce you yet.
Well, guys, as you can hear, we have two guests with us
It's
tonight.
an off week, so, it's a guest episode, but not just any guest episode.
No.
So, shut the fuck up. So, as you know...
This idea that we have for this podcast is not entirely original.
Yes.
And we actually gained inspiration for it by two very lovely gentlemen who have been on our podcast now twice.
That's true.
Once for the penultimate guest episode, and the other for the...
April Fools.
The completely accurate Pentatonics origin
completely
story.
Canon.
Yes. Please welcome to the show, Ben Mascioli and Evan Vandenbrul.
Hello.
You can speak now.
Okay, thank God. I got really scared there for a second.
I almost broke because you started sipping your drink and I could hear
that
everyone.
too in the mic.
Yes.
Oh, wait, you or me?
No, me.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe you. I don't know. I was just going
Yeah, we gotta hear that in the mic.
Oh.
Some nice little ASMR for everyone.
It's fantastic.
But for those who don't know, Ben and Evan started the podcast Album Tonight back in 2020, which inspired this show after they decided they didn't have time to do it anymore.
Actually, we stopped because it got too popular.
Because it got too
Don't get it
popular.
twisted, you piece of shit.
Because Lars
God.
Ulrich sent a cease and desist.
Yeah, that's
Three
true.
people is just too much for me.
Yeah, I think we reached a peak and we didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah, it was a classic rise and fall story.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the hero's journey.
The modern day Icarus.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you all know, for our guest episodes, our guests bring on a theme for this week's album. So, Ben and Evan, what's the theme you chose, and what are the albums to go along with it?
So I kind of got to pick the theme this time because Evan picked it last time, and I was between two, but the one I ultimately went with was artist peak.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what album did the artist release at their peak? That didn't necessarily mean it was their best album. It just meant they reached a peak that they have yet to go back to, essentially.
Or exceed.
So that was the whole idea.
And this is like peak in popularity or like musicianship.
Well, peak in everything, like radio airplay or engagement with the audience, how busy they were touring or whatever, just that kind of mindset, or just in popularity in general, like how much were they talked about at the time within their respective scene or whatever. So that was I thought it would just be an interesting thing to talk about, considering that not every artist's peak means it was their best album.
Exactly.
So
I think it's a cool theme.
Yeah.
So what are the albums that you guys brought on?
I brought on I Let Everything In and It Took... I Let It In and It Took Everything by Loathe.
Mm-hmm. And Evan?
And I brought on Music Has the Right to Children by Boards of Canada.
Two very different albums.
I would say so.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear your opinions, because usually we discuss a little bit about our brief thoughts before coming in here. You have not said anything to me, so I'm interested to see your thoughts on both of these.
I will also say, these are different enough. The other option I had was The Hangman's Beautiful Daughter by Incredible String Band. Which would have been even, I think
even more far away.
That might be the farthest thing from Loathe.
I could see that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? But as different as the albums were, I was telling AJ this not long ago. It's funny because, first of all, I've only listened to Boards of Canada outside of this listening session whenever I'd hear it with Evan when he was just playing it. I was telling AJ, it's funny because the album as a whole reminds me of a different Loathe album that came out after I Let It In, which is literally an ambient album.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was interesting that...
It's like a funny twist of fate.
Yeah, kind of. Like, they're different albums, but artist-wise, funny enough, have done very similar things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously with...
Boards of Canada have not done...
anything heavy.
But what I'm saying, I'm saying like Loathe
Yeah.
probably took Boards of Canada as some sort of an inspiration. I have to imagine that, but...
Boards of Canada's guitar stuff does not sound anything like that.
No, it does not. Absolutely not.
I guess in the end, they really just kind of did let it in and they let it take everything.
And music really does have the right to children.
Yeah.
So with that, what album would you guys like to start with this week?
Oof. Where's the
We could roll the die.
yeah, where's the die?
We could ask Siri to roll a die.
Yeah,
live on
do that.
camera.
Live on, yeah.
Because
Live on camera.
as everyone knows, because what was our podcast called?
Album Tonight.
Album Tonight, because everyone knows how big Album Tonight was.
Yeah, at least 60,000
so big
views.
You can remember the title.
Evan is even, Ben is odd. I am odd.
Siri, roll a die.
Wait, why did it do it on my phone?
3. All right, so 3. So is that you?
Wait, what was the rules again?
Even and odd?
right.
Jesus Christ.
You just explained.
Right. All right, so we're
So
doing
start with Loathe.
Okay, cool. Full disclosure. I don't have anything formal written down about either album.
That's okay.
So,
neither do
Same
we.
here.
so I'm going to give you...
That's funny.
In terms, yeah.
AJ's and Ben have seen my notes.
Yeah, we're going to be here a while. So I'll just give a brief background on Loathe, because Loathe is, give or take, a newer band. I mean, Loathe came around in like 2014. So they're like about 10 years old as a band, but in terms of prevalence in the scene, they really didn't hit their stride until like 2017, 2018. It consists of 4 members. I'm going to fuck up all these names. The lead vocalist is Kadim France. The guitarist and the second vocalist is Eric Bickerstaff. Drummer is Sean Radcliffe, and bassist is Feisal El-Khazragi.
I will type that in the description.
Yeah. I probably mispronounced it entirely, but all of them are fantastic musicians. They are from Liverpool. They actually
interesting.
met all the Beatles.
While they were alive.
Every single
Where did
one
they
of them.
dig John up?
John's still alive.
Oh, yeah, he's on The Masked Singer.
Yeah, exactly.
In all seriousness, there is someone that we knew for a brief period of time who claimed that
To have known their dad
Wait.
knew John Lennon.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'm so sorry.
It was such a lie. It's okay.
So when was Loathe released?
Well, the band came out in
Sorry,
2014,
when was-
like I said. If you were fucking listening.
Sorry, you know what? You're right.
No,
My fault.
So I let it in and took everything came out on February 7th of 2020, which was right before COVID. So they couldn't actually really support it. And I'm just basically going off of what I remember at that time, because at that point I had heard of Loathe, but I didn't really listen to them. All I know is that, the world shut down. Everyone was inside on their phone, finding new things, finding new activities, whatever. And by the end of the year, Loudwire, the most prevalent rock and metal news outlet right now, named that album of the year, which made me go search for it, because I was like, I've always heard of this band, but I never gave them the time and day. That's when I first listened to it. And my God, it changed my outlook on this band. And this album has single-handedly been probably my most listened to album since. Metal Hammer named it as the 12th best metal album in 2020. It was released on Sharp Tone Records. It's labeled as metalcore, post-metal, new metalcore, and gent. They're forgetting that
Shoegaze.
you can add
Yeah,
shoegaze
yeah.
into that, because I think
Shoegaze,
shoegaze is a much bigger genre than any of those, to be
Definitely
fair.
all across this
that
album.
that you can like kind of point to instantly from the vocals being like buried under a lot of this like instrumentation.
Exactly. And the singles that were released supporting the album
Are very surprising as I'm looking at them right now.
and they all surprisingly, well, actually not really surprisingly in today's day and age, because I'm used to singles being released like one before the album and then maybe 2 or 3 other ones after the album. All 4 singles were released prior to the album, and they started with the 2 songs Gored and New Faces in the Dark as a joint single.
Gotcha.
And then they released, that was in September of 2019. Then they released Aggressive Evolution in November of 2019. And then Two-Way Mirror in January of 2020.
Look at that.
That's a little bit of background on Loathe. There's really not much.
Yeah,
that
they're a
we can
newer
talk about.
band.
I still think they're a newer band, but
They're quickly rising up.
very much
Yeah.
so. I mean, they're fucking amazing.
And given the quality of this album, it's not surprising.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, shall we just hop right in?
yeah, why not?
All right, so starting off, we have Theme, kind of nice little ambient opener that kind of sets like a motif that plays throughout the rest of the album, has like little interludes that kind of act as palette cleansers for previous tracks. I think it's a solid way to open up.
Yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, next track.
I mean, I had this written down for the next song, but the album does swap between kind of tone and texture a lot. And so having this into Aggressive Evolution, which itself also switches between the two, it's good for setting the tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think Theme as an opening prepares listeners to expect what part of this album is going to sound like, because honestly, and I know and I mean, I don't think anyone here has listened to their other album. Evan, you might have listened to a couple songs. Their other album...
I haven't listened to another full release from them. I've heard some tracks.
So their other album is similar, but almost like a not as produced version of I Let
a little
It
more
In.
like lo-fi.
It's fantastic. Not even lo-fi, almost like, what's the word?
Bare bones.
Bare naked.
Basics.
Bare naked.
Almost think of it as like a first attempt.
Okay.
Yeah, not necessarily bare bones or like stripped back, but almost like a first attempt of what they would eventually do.
Gotcha.
And it's phenomenal. I love that album too.
Like prototypical, I guess.
Kinda, yeah. Like you could almost, if you were to link the two albums together, you could see, like if you listen to The Cold Sun, which is their 2017 release before this album, you could kind of see where they were going.
Go. Yeah.
And Theme specifically is them saying, this should sound almost familiar, but we're going to go farther.
Gotcha.
And that's why Theme is a really good intro to this album.
Yeah, I agree.
I have no notes for this one.
It's just an opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure is.
It definitely is the theme of I Let It In, and it took everything.
The synthesizers are very nice.
Yeah.
I can appreciate it.
You know what? This is a good time to bring this up. The quieter parts of this album, I was listening to this on, I guess, a lossless stream of it. This is a brick-walled album. One of my biggest knocks against it, and I know why they did it, just so that the whole thing could sound louder and could be louder if you didn't have great, like, speakers or headphones.
Yeah.
But on the quieter moments, especially Theme, you can really hear kind of the crackling of how they just mastered it to sound loud.
Gotcha.
I know that's a more common choice with metal, certainly with louder stuff.
I think it's just a more common choice with modern music, period.
I mean, this has been an issue for a while. I mean, 20 plus years at this point.
Yeah.
You have that string of Rick Rubin albums that are not unlistenable, but that original release of Californication is... it's
But he's got that ear. He's got that
He's got
amazing
that raw bad
producer's
boy
ear.
energy.
Paul McCartney even said so.
Have you seen the thing he said recently where he doesn't use wireless headphones? He doesn't even use wired headphones.
No.
He uses air tube headphones.
Ooh, interesting.
I didn't know that.
I'm
based-
like an audio nerd, and I didn't even know that was a
Air tube
thing.
headphones, interesting.
Someone
He's
reviewed.
probably fucking lying.
No, honestly.
I don't
That's
know.
a good point too.
Have you seen Rick Rubin? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that man does not have a trustworthy face.
no.
That dude probably has music playing in his head 24/7. He probably thinks he has headphones on and he just doesn't.
And I think it's pretty aggressive music, which I think transitions us to our next track, Aggressive Evolution.
AJ's not here for the conversation.
He's not about it. He wants to get the
We have a
fuck out of here.
schedule to fucking keep up with.
He just sees this as a business.
Pretty much. I'm just here for the jokes. I did not listen to either of these albums.
Yeah, Aggressive Evolution is the title of the next track. Definitely, as you said, Evan, it is a fucking turn to left field.
Absolutely.
Which I think, the tone does get set with like the beginning track.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, this is metal, but also like expect some of these.
Yeah.
You know?
There's some like lighter moments to expect, and it's like it kind of got constant throughout, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's certainly not my favorite song on the album, but I would say I'm not surprised they chose this as a single because it does have a nice balance of both extremities of where they go on the album. So it totally makes sense why this was a single.
Yeah, it's like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and it's not a bad song by any means, but it certainly falls flat for me personally a little bit compared to some other songs.
Yeah.
But it's not bad at all. It's a great
I think it's solid.
It's a great opening to like the first full song.
Yeah. And I do agree. I think like the chorus is definitely my favorite part, obviously. Given like the influences. But I think that, like the harder stuff goes pretty hard as well. It's very entertaining to listen to. And I think it serves its purpose well as like the true opener to the album.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest personal gripe with this album, and it starts here, is the lyrics can be good, but I feel like it's almost too vague at points for me to connect with. I know that they're trying to go for something, and there are some points, even in this song, where I don't know whether it's more literal and that they're trying to like describe a world or just emotions. And I think there are some later songs, also the next song, where I connect with it more, but this is an intro, kind of sets that as like, we're going to be talking about things in pretty broad terms here.
It almost feels like pseudo deep. if that kind of makes sense. Like,
I wouldn't
sort of,
go-
kind of.
I wouldn't go that far because I'm trying to think of a good example, but there's definitely something that sounds like this is gonna be a weird example, but Styx is
let's
pseudo
go.
deep. Like that's a band where
Styx.
they're convinced they're saying something.
I mean, I could
100%.
even give a more probably.
Concrete example.
Please do.
Yeah, and this is coming from me being their biggest fan, but Linkin Park, like,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I would say their lyrics are definitely
Pseudo deep at parts.
just like broad, pseudo deep broad, like where what they're saying, it's not that I don't think they're not telling the truth. Obviously, they're writing how they feel or whatever, but obviously they're using terms so that I think the goal is to try and reach as many people as possible to latch on and have many different interpretations. That's kind of how I feel about this album too, because I would agree. I would say a lot of the lyrics are very either vague or broad to the point where you could take it in a bunch of different ways.
Gotcha.
And quite frankly, I don't know what any direct meaning of any of these songs are. I only know based on how I feel when I listen to them and what it means to me. But I could be way wrong for a lot of these.
I like the lyrics really didn't stand out to me at all.
Neither-
I was
no, same
mostly
with me.
focusing on like the musicianship.
It wasn't until the third listen I did for this episode that I pulled up the lyrics alongside because a lot of the time it's hard to understand even the cleaner vocals.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I have to say, it's not Oasis. It's not like,
Jesus.
Champagne supernova.
oh, the brothers are here. That's crazy.
Please welcome Liam and
Welcome guys.
Oh, they're fighting. Okay,
Oh
get 'em
shit!
out.
Yeah, they're fucking brawling. All right,
there's a hole
it
in
is
the wall.
straight up a fist fight right now. Oh my god!
All right, thanks guys.
Okay.
Cool. Get them out of here.
Guys, the level of like celebrities that we've had, Brian Wilson and the two people from Oasis.
I mean, are you surprised? You guys
It's
are
the most
like,
popular podcast in the world,
Yeah,
dude.
like, I don't
John
understand.
Stamos was here.
Yeah, dude.
No,
I
no,
remember
forget.
that.
No, not yet.
Yes, he was. We AI'd his
No,
voice
he
in,
was
so he was
definitely
here.
AJ, don't reveal the magic.
Shit, you're right. He was here. For real, for real. All right, next up we have Broken Vision Rhythm. I'm not really huge on this one. It's just kind of like a more aggressive, a little faster than the last one. They kind of really sticking more to the harder stuff, and it's fine for what it is, but I don't really go back to it a lot.
Yeah, that's where I differ. I love this song.
I enjoy
go
this
off,
one.
man.
Yeah, this might be my favorite of the heavier tracks.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
I would say this is your first taste of like the really heavy songs. Like I would put this song in the Gourds and Red Room and all that. And this song goes fucking hard. Like I can say from a listening standpoint, it gets my blood pumping. And then seeing it live is a
I can imagine.
whole other thing. Dude, two-stepping for days to this song. I am in that pit when I go see them again.
If anyone is
crazy.
curious, technically, we're definitely in the footage from their Philly show.
No, I know I'm in the footage. I'm in the
shit.
front row and you can see
Whoa.
me.
I ended
like-
up in the front row by the end.
When was it?
It was at Underground Arts in Philly.
All right, look that up on YouTube.
Yeah,
see if you can see.
yeah,
Ben and Evan.
856. It's like December of 2022. Yeah, you can see there, and they performed this album in full,
Nice.
which was phenomenal. I loved every second of it. But yeah, I started in the middle of the venue and somehow got pushed to the front, and my spleen just got hammered into the railing of the stage.
And I loved it.
And every second of it, I was. No, I'm not even going to say.
Thank you.
Anyway.
It was a great show. It was very sweaty, and afterwards we're standing outside, like trying to essentially dry ourselves off.
Ew.
And the bassist passed by, and we kind of just do like a quick nod of like, "Hey."
Like, yo, good job. He was just like, oh, thanks for coming out. Appreciate you
And
guys.
like, yeah, the bassist is a very imposing. Like, he looks like the Undertaker.
He does. He looks like a skinny version of
That's
the
a good bit.
Undertaker.
Yeah.
We talking like American badass, or are we talking
Or
like
classic
Undertaker?
Like WWE.
Yeah, but he has like.
he is
Sorry, we
different.
don't know wrestling. Yeah.
My
Okay.
bad. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a nerd with that.
It's okay.
As of late.
It's all right.
Just think of what,
He rebranded.
whatever you imagine the Undertaker as, that's what he looked like, just a skinnier version.
I think there's like some cool moments in here. I really like the energy of the song a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect like live song. I like there's the ascending slowdown break that happens.
Oh, absolutely.
That's really nice. But overall, it's just kind of whatever.
It's cool how halfway through it almost becomes Tom Sawyer. It's
yep.
real close.
It does get close. Yep.
Just not quite there.
Nah.
I think his vocal performance on like this track compared to like the last one, not that the last one was like lacking, I'd say, but like in this one, I feel like he just really does deliver. So that was something that jumped out at me.
Nice.
Also, it's noted that a man named Harry Rule is featured on this track. I did do a little research. I think he's the vocalist for the band God Complex from the UK. I don't know what he actually does though. Like I could probably look it up. I never bothered looking it up, but like I don't know exactly what he even does on the song.
He's just kind of there, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
He's like the Sam Means.
Oh yeah,
of Loathe.
He never got his credit. Well, I guess while Ben does that, shall we move on to the next track? We got nothing else?
Sure.
All right, next up is Two-Way Mirror, one of my favorites from this album. This track is really fucking good.
Definitely one of the high points, especially like the intro.
Yeah.
Because the guitar is quite good.
Yeah, I know, man. The guitars, all the shoegazy stuff, I think definitely stands out as just something to enjoy all throughout this album. It's very nice, very pleasant.
I felt like, and this might be kind of a stretch, because, I mean, well, you know, grunge and metal are like kind of like cousins a little bit, I would say.
They borrow from each other, I guess. Yeah,
I don't know. In the great
genre gauntlet,
yeah,
pantheon.
whatever. Yeah. I was kind of getting some like Pearl Jam vibes a little bit.
Interesting.
Just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like too much. Just from like
structure or just like sound?
Sound,
Gotcha.
I would say. Not really a structure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can understand the words better than
That's true, yeah.
That's true.
Eddie Vedder songs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This was the song that got me into Loathe. I remember watching the music video and expecting this song to be really heavy because Loathe is very, very tied into the hardcore scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was expecting this song to be like really heavy. And when it kicked in with these really beautiful sounding guitars and like very flowy, a very spacey, flowy vibe, I was very taken aback, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, definitely.
It turned me on. Period. Anyway, sorry.
Hard.
No, it turned me on to this shoegaze sound that I didn't think I would actually really like. But they achieved it by using very simple chord progressions and working around the sound structure instead of working with abstract music and just forcing a bunch of reverb or whatever. It was very simplified and they focused on the sound, which really drew me in. Vocals are great. I think the melodies are fantastic for the like music that's there. Again, it gives me very Deftones vibes.
I could definitely see that.
That was the very first thing I thought. It was like, this is like later Deftones when they start getting into like the shoegazy stuff. And it's great. I think they do a really good job. I understand why people don't like it if they're big fans of Deftones, because it's just like, oh my God, here's another band trying to do like a Deftones thing. But I think Loathe, if you were to say Loathe was doing that, they're the best at doing it.
Yeah.
And the music video is really good too. I mean, there was no like real story behind it, but it was just really well put together and it fit the song very well.
Yeah, it's basically just like a 4-minute shot of some dude looking at a two-way mirror. It's like CCTV footage.
Black and white, like real time.
Some dude just staring at like a window.
That's pretty
As people
good.
come up and like look at him.
That's pretty good.
The one thing I will say that I liked, and I think they do it in the music video, but in the live show is like they have visuals for these songs, and this song has a really big pause of just ambient sound, and then it comes back into that final chorus.
Yeah.
During that pause on the live shows, they have like text as if a story is going on between two people. And it's like kind of moving, actually. I forget exactly what it says, but I think it's kind of moving, actually.
Nice. I mean, this is
nice,
definitely like an emotional song.
Yeah.
So
So
this one, I felt like I connected with the lyrics more.
Same
There's
here.
one song that I
Yeah.
did more so.
We'll get to that.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I guess kind of while we're still on the Deftones thing, I mean, you can also attest. The first thing we saw when we got to the concert was the guy checking the tickets was wearing a white pony hoodie.
Yeah.
I think this is very much of like, if you like Deftones, you will like
Yeah.
Loathe. But there is that variety there. It's It's not cut and copy.
Not at all. Oh God, no, not at all. It's mainly the shoegazy parts.
Exactly.
The only other thing I could see, which I guess I'll talk about this really quickly, and this isn't the greatest song to talk about it for. I should have talked about it for the last song and Aggressive Evolution, but like Loathe is also known for using guitars that are tuned really, really low. Like a standard guitar is E standard, which is E, A, D, G, B, E. Loathe basically does what is called drop C sharp, or not really. Their tuning's kind of weird, but like I'm just going to call it drop C sharp for make it easy. And basically what that means is, double drop C sharp. What that means is they're taking standard tuning it an octave lower on a guitar, and then going lower to match C sharp.
Gotcha.
So they're basically going an octave and like 2.5 steps down, which is fucking insane. Like it is bass guitar territory.
Yeah, I was gonna say that,
but
like
meant for a guitar.
Yeah,
and it sounds fucking ridiculous. And I'm bringing that up now too because of the Deftones thing, because that's the only other way I could see a comparison. Because Deftones also does that.
Gotcha.
Deftones doesn't do it as extreme as Loathe, but it certainly has ties. So.
I feel like you just earned some Reddit karma. Like somehow, some way. Yeah.
R/ like Eargasm's just gonna fucking love you, Ben.
Yeah, what can I say? I'm just the fucking shit sometimes.
I am just an audio guy.
I am just an audio guy. And now to go back to Broken Vision Rhythm, I did learn nothing about Harry Rule and what he did for the song.
He's just not real.
He's my only guess is maybe I read it wrong, but it sounds like Harry Rule and the singer used to be in another band together, and it's possible that he wrote part of the song and they might have just taken sections and just gave him credit.
That's cool.
I'm not really sure, but
there's nothing on the Harry Rule wiki.
Right, exactly.
I see. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have 451 Days. This is kind of like the first, I guess, little interlude transition to kind of like cleanse our palate from what we've been hearing.
I quite enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's a great little ambient track that goes into New Faces in the Dark.
Yeah, very well. The transitions on this album are also very well done.
Yeah.
And I also like the pacing a lot on this album as well. It really knows when to switch things up, and I respect it. But again, it is a transition song, so not really much to say. Besides good synths, good ambience. Next up, we have New Faces in the Dark. This is probably my favorite heavier track on the album. I really like this one a lot. And I think it kind of picks things back up after this little interlude.
Yeah, I mean, this song bangs. Like, obviously a single for a reason. It's got a nice, like, headbang groove, almost. Like, right when it drops that... Like, it's almost like dance-like. Like, it's really cool how they do
rhythm,
it.
Yeah.
And I don't mean dance like hardcore dance. I mean like actual like club dance music. Like
not just two-stepping.
Yeah, not just two-stepping and crowd killing. Another great two-stepping song though, I will say. But yeah, great heavy song. It's got really good energy.
Absolutely. I like the pitch and like layered vocals all over this track.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
cool. Really cool choice.
The drums on this are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this drummer is super underrated.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. His side note, he uses marching drumsticks.
Oh,
when he
really?
plays.
That's insane.
It's crazy. Like when Evan and I were at the show, he threw a stick out and I caught it and I looked at it and I looked at Evan and I was like, dude, this is basically a marching drumstick. This is fucking huge.
Jesus.
Good for him.
I think in taking these notes on like a third listen, I was having some trouble just really thinking of anything to say about the heavier songs, only because I don't feel like I have the right vocabulary for it in the way that you do.
That's fine. I'll correct you.
It's not even correcting.
Actually.
You're about to earn some more karma, Ben.
Red's really gonna love you, dude.
Dude, I'm killing it right
We're
now.
about to get downvoted.
Ben goes full incel.
That'll be the day.
I think this one's good. I'm I guess not as on board with this one as you guys are. That's fine.
I mean, please speak your mind.
Is there any reason, like, particularly why? You're just like, this doesn't click?
Yeah, so I can judge the fuck out of you.
I'm kidding. I think the first two listens, I was just doing it casually. And so I was just going with the flow of the album. But when I was stopping to think about each song, I was kind of like thinking about it per song, if I would listen to it, like what I'd come back to. And my thing with the heavier songs is that as much as I'm happy with them on a sequential listen, I'm I'm not really gonna go back.
Yeah,
sure,
that's fair.
Play them. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
I mean, we all have opinions, but we can be wrong.
And Reddit loves mine. Anything else to say?
No.
I mentioned the drum thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
good.
yeah, did
We're
I
good.
tell you about the drumstick?
Yeah.
He uses
cool.
like marching sticks, right?
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
And then Evan said he didn't like the song, so
I guess.
That was just a really
hard.
recap for those who just skipped.
Okay.
For those who skipped ahead in the video, that's just what happened.
When AJ's trying to find parts to cut out.
I guess there really were new faces in the dark.
I guess we really did just take it and let's just not. Okay.
Next up is Red Room. I don't like this track.
Oh man, really?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I guess I could understand.
I don't really care for it. It's pretty short, which is nice. I said there's not a great transition, even though I said they have good transitions on the last track. So I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Beat up past AJ. But yeah, I'm just not huge on like this like heavier style. It's like more very aggressive on this track when it like really kind of picks up.
Yeah.
There's a lot more screaming here. Even though the screaming on this album isn't like super abrasive, which I really appreciate. Here it's kind of like a little too much for me. But overall, it's just kind of whatever.
AJ prefers Sleep Token's vocalist a lot more.
I love Vicious. Is that what his name is?
I don't fucking know. I think he's Mr. Token. I think it's Mr. Token.
Oh, Mr. Token, that's right.
Sleep, if you will.
Sleep, please. Mr. Token was my father.
Call me Sleep. Yeah. You don't like Sleep Token, Ben?
Do you not know Sleep Token?
I am not familiar.
That's for the
Good
best.
for you.
Yeah,
Let's stay that way.
Yeah.
No, quite frankly, I don't. I've listened to
Go
the whole
off.
album. All right. You can cut all this out. I've listened to the album once, and I've never revisited it because I thought it was
Take Me Back to Eden.
that
Yeah.
album.
Which we covered on the podcast. Listen to
Yes,
that
we
episode.
sure did.
Oh.
I'll put it like
We would have never have listened to that album if
Exactly, yeah.
If Gavin
I was a
didn't
bit
bring it on.
confused. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, you
Even
all
this
know.
collective trauma.
No. This could be attributed to the fact that only for this podcast
Yeah, I guess
listened
brought
to
it
that.
on, yeah.
yeah. I think my
okay.
biggest gripe with the album is not that it's not good, although it's not. That's not even what I'm upset about. I'm upset about how the community, like the metal community,
Yeah.
because you have one fan base that despises it.
Yes.
Which like I guess I'd put myself in that category, even though I wouldn't say I despise it. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
Then there's the others that glorify it, and they're like, if you don't like where metal's going, then you're a poser. And it's like, if this is where metal's going, then it's
Yeah, I
not
don't know.
metal.
Yeah, it's
pop.
Imagine
Yeah.
Dragons.
It's just pop music at that
like-
point.
it's like
and
if
if
the
you
lead
and if
singer
you want
from-
metal to go pop, then it's fucking dying as a genre, and
Yeah.
we should just stop while we're ahead.
That's
and I
fair.
think that's really fucking stupid when you have bands like Knocked Loose who are fucking heavy as balls and they are now mainstream. It's fucking crazy. Like, it is still very much alive. So the people that are like, yo, Sleep Token's the new metal, it's like, you can fuck yourself.
Have you heard Do You Wish That You Love Me? That's not the new metal.
It's
Have you
just
heard?
like,
have you heard "Vor" by
Oh, we're
Sonic
talking
the
about
Hedgehog?
Vor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know what that is.
Oh, let me get my files up.
Back on the same page. Cool.
I think we should start reviewing. We should like switch gears. I think
And review
just,
fan art?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say review
And just porn, you know, like
Welcome back to the family porno.
family porn.
Hey, we'll
welcome
get
back
there.
to the family circ jerk. Anyway,
It's only a matter of time before we start an OnlyFans, AJ. We're celebrities.
That's
so, I mean,
true. I mean,
social media content's
80
getting
million
crazy.
followers. We got
I'm
it.
assuming
Instagram content. We found it. It's just AJ and I in like a two-piece spaghetti.
Just butt ass naked. Do the Nikocado avocado, spread your asshole on camera.
Oh my oh my lord. Wow, I'd pay that. Anyway,
Sleep Token sucks, bottom line.
yeah, sorry, and you can cut all of that out. That's just my gripe is for the people that are calling that the next phase of metal, and it's like it's not.
I mean, as someone who is very much in the scene, I think this is a very valid opinion.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, they have heavy parts, and I'm not.
Yeah, they're not like awful musicians.
I'm
They
not,
have good stuff.
yeah, the thing is, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to diss the heavy parts that they're doing. It's like, that's fine, but they're obviously not going in that direction.
Exactly, yeah.
So for the people that are trying to latch on to be like, this is the new shit, it's like, dude, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want the new shit, like, seriously, Knocked Loose is like the heaviest fucking band right now, and they are moving up and up at a rapid pace. They fucking played Coachella.
Oh,
like,
shit.
Oh, that's dope as shit, actually.
Nice.
like they were the first hardcore band in however many years to play Coachella, and they fucking killed it. They were the talk of the whole festival, supposedly. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you want to see where heavy music's going, listen to Knocked Loose, and then go down that rabbit hole of like all
Similar
these bands
bands,
that are
yeah.
coming up. With that said, they're still very niche because of their vocalist sounding like a child.
Yep.
Dude, Evan just goes, yeah,
There's a lot of overlap then between Knocked Loose and Playboy Cardi fans. Then I think they can find a solid middle ground.
Don't even bring up Mr. Cardi in my presence. I fucking can't. Now that's an album I could talk about how much I hate.
Oh, you didn't look up the Playboy Cardi Boards of Canada remix album?
That was crucial listening for this.
Yeah, that was the album. I don't know if I made that clear.
Lean for Roygbiv. It's their classic collab.
Jesus fucking Christ. All right.
I'm being serious. That's on YouTube. You can find that.
Probably.
No, like
actually,
yeah,
they did it for real thing.
Yeah.
He's not kidding. Do you understand what he's saying? He's not kidding.
I'm just stuck on Red Room.
We're all just collectively in a bad mood.
Anyway, speaking of Red Room, though, I will try and get us back on track because I did want to say I understand why you guys probably wouldn't vibe with this.
Yeah.
This is the kind of music that like I'm really into heavy stuff. So like this song is like up there as one of the top songs for me. And like the only way I can describe this on why this is so
it's monkey brain, like scratch an itch.
Yeah, the way that it scratches an itch for me is because like when it gets heavy, it's like the fucking Hat Man beating you over the head with a fucking paddle repeatedly.
I gotta re-listen.
Like
wow.
that, like you are bending, you're literally bending for your fucking life with this kind of song. And that's the kind of vibe I get from it, so that like when I hear this song live, I'm fucking giving it my all in the pit. I am fighting off the demons in front of me. Like, I'm not kidding. This is the song, like, if I'm gonna lose my shit to, it's this song and one other song on this album that I'm absolutely like monkey mood
ballistic.
Going to absolutely like murder is legal as far as I'm concerned when this song comes on.
Gotcha.
All right, cool. Good to know.
And that's like a personal standpoint. So I
That's
understand
why the room is red. I gotcha.
Okay, that makes so much sense
the
now.
Twin Peaks thing.
To be honest, it probably was.
Is, yeah.
It probably was. But that's why, for me personally, I love this song because it is like that kind of just like in your face, like repeatedly bashing you with those chords and drum hits when it gets really heavy. It's like, I'm gonna die.
And I love it.
And I love that. So yeah. But I understand why people wouldn't like it because of how heavy it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll be surprised. I actually kind of vibe with this one too.
Yes!
We got one.
I like the intro.
Matt, you're coming to see Loathe with me, all right?
Oh, cool. Sounds good.
You guys aren't invited.
What the hell?
We're going to Boards of Canada. Fine, fuck
That's
you.
not gonna happen.
They're not coming back.
And that's just not happening.
No, absolutely not. No, I thought the intro was honestly kind of good. It's oddly emotional, which I did not expect that much lyrically. I feel like it also kind of helps pace out the album a bit better as a whole. And then, stylistically, I thought it had a pretty interesting like spin to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, Evan?
I think we should move on to screaming.
I agree. I really like screaming.
So the song's screaming.
4 minutes of that. Just 4 minutes of that, and it's really lovely. But no, this track's actually really cool. It's one of their most popular, right?
It is, yeah. I think right now it has almost 17.8 million streams.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. It has kind of like a dance rock kind of feel to it that
definitely.
I can really, really appreciate.
Sounds like Persona music to me.
I can see
and
that.
I still
Persona
like
3.
it. I like Persona.
Yeah,
love
definitely
it.
Persona 3.
I'm in the house like carpet.
So oddly enough, this is probably my least favorite song. And the only reason is because I think it's a little too long. Like, I think they repeat ideas a little too much in the song where it becomes a little repetitive. Mm-hmm. But the song itself is great. I actually really, like, the drums on this song carry this song, in my opinion. The way that he switches between just a regular, like, eighth note hi-hat beat and then switching to a dance beat, like, the way that he transitions those kind of beats is really intriguing.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that. But overall, it's a little redundant at times. Mm-hmm. There are points where I'm like really into it, but other points where I get kind of lost and I kind of stop listening.
I guess. I mean, I feel like again it kind of meshes best of both worlds of like the softer and the harder stuff on here.
Yeah,
I like the chorus a lot. with the dance beat. There's a nice like halftime break, I think, in the pre-chorus.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, which is very nice. The guitars are great. I think the one thing I'll say about this album overall, I can't really hear the bass. I can't tell what's a bass and what's a guitar just based off their tuning.
That's a distraction tactic, actually.
Yes. Just like cover up if there's no bass. Yeah.
We totally plug in when we play live. We promise.
I mean, it sounds good, whatever it is. It's just hard to tell what exactly it is.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think it's a fun song.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate your commentary.
I said I liked it.
Well, I've got a lot more to say about the next one.
Well, yeah, I think the next song is arguably the best song.
Yeah, and it's their most popular, right?
I think so. As of right now, it has 38 million streams.
And that song is It Really You?
The preset on the guitar kind of sounds like Sarah by Ween.
Oh, shit.
Just like a tad.
Cool. Huh.
It's weird. It really threw me for a loop after the last one.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fair.
But oh my god, the drums on this one are, I'd argue, even better than the last one.
I like the 6/8 feel on here. It's very nice.
Yeah, I mean, this is arguably not only the best song on the album, but probably the best song in their catalog. Speaking of Sleep Token, they did a cover. They did their own rendition of this song, but oddly enough, it's really good.
Oh, nice.
It's actually a really good It's like the only thing by Sleep Token I actually kind of like. Yeah, it's really emotive. Even though it's literally the same chord progression over and over, they use it so tastefully in every single section.
It feels like so grand overall with all like the ambience, like the spacey sounds. It's great.
Like I think the part that gets me the most in this song specifically is when they're in that last chorus and it's all grand feeling, and then all of a sudden it just cuts down to one acoustic guitar playing.
Yeah, that
cool. Shit gives me chills every fucking time. And then just on a more personal note, this song was like, when I needed this song, it was there for me, and I was really fucking thankful for that. So this song just always has a special place in my heart.
That's nice.
Yeah, I love this song, and I love the song that follows it up, but we're not talking about that yet.
I think his vocals also really go hard here too.
Yeah, they shine.
Yeah. Oh, which by the way,
I wrote that in my notes, AJ, that they shine.
I guess I should point out, I kind of briefly mentioned it. There are two vocalists in the band, and it's very hard to discern them because they do sound very similar.
There's two of them?
There's two vocalists.
All right.
And they sound very similar. So for example, what I can say for this song is in the verses, it's the guitarist. And then in the choruses, it's the main vocalist.
Gotcha.
That one part you have the voice from Fitter, Happier, More Productive.
And then like Two-Way Mirror, yeah, we're gonna breeze over that because I don't think any of us.
No, we're going back to this. There's a part in this song where you hear the like voice in the background. And it's the same from OK Computer.
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
Oh, during the build up of the second chorus, it's the same.
It sounds like it. It's a lot more muffled on this track because on the track on OK Computer, it's just that.
Yeah,
they have a track that is just that.
Just robot
speak. Now hold on.
Yeah,
now we got
to do Reese. Fucking goddamn it! In the meantime, I like the drums on this track as well, Matt. I like when it switches up to 16th note hi hats in the second verse. This is just a really nice track. Just let wash over you. It's just a nice little calm down. I like it a lot.
This is the kind of song that it is nighttime. You are laying looking at the sky, and that is all you're doing.
You're just contemplating.
Yeah,
yeah, literally.
I think the acoustic guitar also kind of adds to that vibe, especially in the outro.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I mean,
it's just good.
It's the best song on the album.
Yeah, it is. It is easily.
I could see that.
It's the kind of song where if you were to put it like on the radio, you wouldn't really discern that this is like considered a hardcore band.
I got you.
And I love that, and I think anyone can enjoy it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Next up, we have one that probably doesn't fit that same principle.
The exact opposite.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, this is the best follow-up they could have on the album. I think these songs back to back are like the best pair you could think of because you go from the most emotive,
like
free-flowing kind of
ambient
song to the most bash your fucking head in the wall and kill kittens.
Yeah, this is Gored.
Gored is literally like when I say this is like one of the heaviest songs I've ever heard. This is legitimately one of the heaviest fucking songs I've ever heard.
You can
It
check
is
this. My note is just heavy. That is my
That's
only
literally
note.
all
That is
Evan
my
wrote.
only
Fair
note
enough.
on this song.
Yeah, you're correct.
This song is a prime example of the guitar tuning where it's that double drop C sharp.
Yeah.
It is very clear, like in that range. Like this is the first song where you can clearly hear it's in that range because you literally cannot tell what is a bass or guitar because it is just all low rumble noise. And it's so, oh my God, this song is ridiculously heavy. I don't know. I could probably talk about it for another 5 minutes, but I'm going to choose to not do that because I'm just going to keep going.
I mean, of the heavier tracks, I'm not really fond of this one. I think like my heavier tracks are Faces in the Dark and Screaming.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of there in my opinion.
I think as much as the transition might work for you, having this follow
It's jarring. It's very jarring.
It makes me like it less because I'm like, oh, I like this Autechre stuff. Can we go back?
Oh, I love it. I think it's great pacing though. And the reason why I say that is because you just had Screaming, which I would argue was a softer song on the album. And then Is It Real You is even more soft.
And then it picks it up with this one.
So going into Gored as like one of the heavier songs, because arguably, I mean, New Faces in the Dark is really heavy. Red Room's really heavy. Then Screaming and Is It Really You really toned the album down. So going back into a song that is like absurdly heavy is like, in my opinion, the best direction they could have gone. Because if they had done another soft song, I think this album would have lost me.
I gotcha. Because, I mean, like, right after here, you're kind of hitting, like, the end of a next block, because we have, like, another interlude coming up.
Yeah.
So I think that is a very apt point, as just kind of, like, a way to close that block off.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to describe it is I probably would have felt fatigued if I had another soft
just back
song.
to back.
Yeah, because, I just don't know how that would have worked. I can't even imagine an alternative version where it goes
Or
into a
Gored
soft
isn't
song.
here.
Yeah,
Oh
literally.
no, it would have been a slow dive album. That would have been a tragedy.
That's so awful. Oh, no.
Oh no.
I will say, the only other thing I'll say about Gored is actually the inspiration behind it. There's an interview with the band where they explained why they wrote it, and they were on tour with, I forget what band it was, but they were on tour. It was during their other album cycle, and they were writing these songs on the road. And a lot of these songs were like already done, and the record was like basically almost complete. And they were like, they went up to the headlining band. They're like, "Yo, like we want to show you guys like our new album." And so they played most of the album for them. And the band was just like, like literally just respond with, yeah, it's okay. And supposedly it pissed all of them off so much that the next day they went into the studio and wrote that in like an hour.
Nice. That's tight. That's a good story.
It's so good.
I think like the highlights for me are the drums here. I really like the double bass pedal a lot. Like towards the end, that really fucks. Like, and the blast beats are nice. But yeah, just a heavy track, solid for what it is.
I thought the guitar honestly was working overtime on this one because holy fucking
it was.
You got Ben excited, Matt. You're good at that, apparently.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Matt, meet me after this episode, son, okay?
Gotcha. Sounds good. Are we about to make some Instagram content?
Oh, it's finally happening.
Link in bio.
We got one.
There's like a red pepper next to this one like site that's just like
Eggplant splashing emoji.
that. Okay,
What were we gonna say, Matt? Guitars.
that was it. Just
Okay.
it really impressed me. I feel like he was really just like working overtime.
Nice.
Just like imagining him trying to do it that like fast was honestly
It was impressive.
it really was.
Yeah, and you impressed Ben.
You did. Thank you.
Next up,
You're going to Loathe.
you're going to Loathe.
Congratulations, you got one free ticket to Loathe!
You're going to Loathe. You started this
I
podcast.
just imagine like the Wheel of Fortune like prize music in the background.
That's Family Feud. Never mind. I'm sorry. Heavy is the head that falls with the weight of 1,000 thoughts. Is the next track.
Yeah, all I really have to say about this one, again, the heavier songs in terms of trying to explain them, I feel like I'm at a loss for words. There's a moment towards the end that is Mr. Bungle-esque.
I could definitely hear that.
But the outro, I do really like.
Yeah, with the acoustic,
way,
yeah.
it goes from the noise to that great harmony into the acoustic guitar.
Yeah, so this song, for me, it's pretty forgotten about for the most part, but I would agree with you, actually. I would say the standout is
The outro.
noisy outro going into this really haunting choir kind of sound.
Yeah.
Then going into that acoustic guitar playing the melody and progression of the next song. The heavy parts in this song are cool. I mean, the fact that it just starts with just a fucking blast beat, the guitar's just doing
Going
tremolo
off,
picking. It gives like black metal vibes, which is really cool. And then the part that it leads into is also cool, where it just goes ding 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 ding. Like that's cool, and that part goes hard, but it just doesn't stand out compared to other tracks on this album.
I could definitely see that for sure.
I said I like the tempo of this one, and that the drum beat and the riff goes very hard, while the vocals just kind of go crazy after a bit, and that is all I said.
Yeah.
Next up, a sad cartoon.
Like the movie Coco.
Is that a sad cartoon?
I guess so.
Like Puss in
Relatively,
Boots
yeah.
and the Lost City, or whatever it's called. Puss in Boots
Of
2.
Atlantis, or like
Two Puss,
one
Two
with
Boots,
the
with
one with
realistic
the
depictions of panic attacks. This is
there was no segue out of that.
I'm off a perk. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's
got me. I don't
fading.
know
It's
why.
fading real quick.
Yeah.
We gotta.
It's bad.
That's very true.
I have my dementia's kicking in.
Can't say that.
I would say this is,
You're right, 'cause I don't remember.
He let the park in and it took everything.
Oh my. Boy, do we have a theme for this album.
Jesus Christ, we do.
I was gonna say this is probably the most Deftones-y song, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good song. I used to really like it when I first heard the album, but it's kind of fallen to the wayside on like re-listens. It's not bad. Yeah, it's a good song. I like it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I never skip it or anything like that. It just doesn't stand out to me as much anymore.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I overall like this one. I like the guitar tone overall. Like this kind of like muted tone it has is very nice, and the shoegazy stuff is always very good. The halftime chorus I really enjoy, and it mentions colors, dude.
I love Colors!
Ben's favorite album of all time.
Honestly, I think I have more to say about
The Reprise.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else then?
It's again, I like the way it kind of differently paces the album at this point. The instrumentation overall is pretty good, and yeah, lyrics are actually pretty okay too. So I mean,
Overall, a
definitely,
happy cartoon.
I think
Like
it's
the
definitely,
first part of Coco.
Yeah, like Puss in Boots one.
It's definitely one of the better tracks in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I like this one a lot. But next up we have a sad cartoon reprise, and this is the interlude I was thinking of.
Why? Why would they, like, it's the next song. Why is it a reprise?
Yeah, to be honest,
After that, I mean,
yeah, I'm in full agreement with you. At this point, I'm like, why are we still listening to this? Because this whole theme for sad cartoons started in Heavy is the Head That Falls with the Weight. I don't even know what the full name is, but like,
It's that one.
It starts with that song at the end of that song for the last like minute of it. Like, it's not like it kind of pushed into the song. It's like it had a whole ass section at the end of that song, and then you have the full sad cartoon song, which is like a 5-minute song, by the way.
And then it keeps this up.
And then it keeps it up just in a very shoegaze way. And at that point, I'm like, why are we still on this?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I almost would have just preferred another interlude like 451 Days.
Yeah, just something different.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely my least favorite of the interludes.
I think the name pisses me off more than anything else.
Just sad cartoon
Reprise.
It reminds me of bad prog rock, where they're like, "Oh, you like that song? Let's keep it going."
Coming at you.
Yeah, it's just. I guess we can all agree this is the worst song on the album.
I mean,
guess.
the thing is, transition songs, I don't even really count them as like songs when saying what I like and what I don't
guess,
like.
like, Weakest
However,
Moment.
what I'll say, if I'm talking about the interludes, it's easily
definitely.
the weakest.
Yeah.
Just
I would
because
say so.
it's like, how long is it? It's like,
It's like under 2 minutes.
okay, yeah, it's a minute. It's about a minute 15.
Yeah.
So like, it's not long, thankfully, but like,
It's unnecessary.
the only thing I'll say I like is the pulsing chords at the end of it, where it's just pulsing chords, and that's it. That's cool. But the fact that it just transitions from the end of the song to basically the chord progression of the song you just heard is like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But the pulsing chords was kind of nice because to me it sounds like what you would think of like internal pulses slowing down. and like
when you're dying.
Kind of like I was not kind of.
All right.
I was thinking more like mentally, like when you are
Dying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just want to die.
Yeah. I just want you know what, guys. I'm done. It's time to give up. I was more so thinking when you mentally go from like a state of stability, slowly drifting into like a depressive state.
Gotcha.
And I really like that going into the last song. Like the pulsing chords going into the last song makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Because the last song is fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I guess we can move on then.
Yeah.
So the last one, the title track, I Let It In and It Took Everything. I think it's a very fitting closer.
Yeah, it's discomfort like the entire time.
Yeah.
There is nothing joyful
Or soothing or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like the guitar, like it's really well written. Every part of the instrumental is fantastic, but it leaves you feeling uneasy, as if like it kind of leaves you like you just went through this journey and you almost think you might get like a
sweet treat.
Yeah, you might think you're getting a sweet treat.
Some Instagram content, if you will.
Yeah, but in reality, it leaves you feeling like, holy crap, you just went through this whole journey and you lost.
Yeah.
Like, that
Very
is how it
defeatist.
ends, and it's very, like, ooh.
That's a gut punch.
But it's, like...
Yeah, you did really let it in, and it did take everything.
Yeah, and, like, that's
Yeah.
the whole point of it. It's like, I let it in, and I've lost.
Yeah.
And that's a heavy statement.
Absolutely.
Honestly, like,
Yeah.
How do you
without a
recover
doubt.
from that, man?
No, you don't.
It's brutal.
Like, it is so deserving of the title track, by far. Listening to it, like, I love that song. Like, it's probably one of my favorite songs on the album, but listening to it is, like... if you're looking for comfort, it is not.
Don't
that
go
song.
here, yeah.
I can definitely, like, tone-wise and, like, thematically, like, placing-wise and of, like, the whole record, I can respect it for what it is. Definitely, with the whole, like, no, like, payoff, not no payoff per se, with the whole, like, no,
Sweet treat.
sweet treat, yeah. And you're not, like, winning with this track.
Panning for gold. How does it feel, Matt?
Well, the deal is you're digging through a lot of shit in this song.
Yes.
And there are no gems at the end. But I can respect it, though, because, I mean, I think thematically it fits, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the ending to
Evangelion.
the 2019 masterpiece.
Can you not mention Evangelion in my presence, AJ? Ever
I?
again. We can talk... Evan, I like
After.
Evangelion. We can talk about it.
All right.
Why can't I talk about it?
Because you haven't seen the full thing, AJ.
You haven't.
I saw Biggest Asuka. That's enough.
No, that's
the
not enough.
worst
That's not
episode.
enough.
Yeah.
That's not enough.
I
Anyway,
haven't seen
continue.
any of them.
All right, Ben, we could talk about it and make them sad.
Trust me, we're Evangelion fans.
We're
already
always sad.
Yeah. It's a good ending. Again, for
Yeah.
these notes, I was kind of just like, okay. this
Yeah,
is-
I got it.
But I'm also not someone who's a huge fan of downer endings. This one earns it, but that doesn't change my own biases towards it.
Just fair, totally.
I think what I like is I feel like you could have ended it on a happy note. Like I feel like with how the album was going, even though most of it was down, I feel like after a sad cartoon, you could have
Bring it
tried
back
you
up.
could have tried picking it up.
But then the fucking reprise ruins everything.
But I think they made the right choice of going farther
Yeah.
down
It definitely-
into more
yeah.
depressive state. It fit, yeah,
Exactly.
like Matt said, thematically, it made more sense to go that direction. Yeah, definitely top 3 song.
You just summarized it in one sentence when I tried to, like, add 6 together. And I couldn't finish one, so, you know, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, man,
That's why you won tickets to go see Loathe!
They're here right now. Hello.
Hey, let's bring in Kadim. So how does it feel to be British?
Oh, they're fighting the Gallaghers now.
Yeah, they joined the brawl. Wait, what, they're still here?
Stopped.
Shit, is that the Undertaker? Let's get ready to rumble.
Oh God! Well, we let them have their brawl. Final thoughts, guys. What do we think? If I let it in and it took everything, Matt.
Me?
Matt goes first.
Okay. Well, I will say, mostly because I'm not going to be reading off anything because I didn't write a concluding
Same.
thing for this. So, I'll be frank.
Hi, I'll be Ben.
All right, cool.
No, I'm Ben.
As long as we establish this, as long as we establish the names early on, on episode like 30, like
41
of the podcast. No, I will say there are definitely a lot of moments on here where I was like, okay, I see why people like this. In terms of like album flow, which is kind of what I was looking at when I was listening to this.
Yeah.
I personally did not like the way this album flowed much at all.
I gotcha.
I think like thematically, I'm sure if you're like really, really into the band and you're really kind of like into a lot of like metal themes, for me, I'm very, very picky. I don't like a lot of metal. So like, unfortunately, I don't think this really, that really helped that case with listening to this. But there were definitely parts on here where I was like really like, you know, kind of headbanging. I did listen to this in a library.
Oh, nice.
So,
I mean, the perfect
place.
setting.
I felt like I had to like kind of mask any sort of joy. No, but there are definitely some like really fun tracks on here. And I like how they sort of like not only add some variety with like the interludes, but also kind of like skate the different like feels of different types of metal.
Yeah.
Which you kind of like articulated earlier on as we were kind of going track by track. But I could definitely probably pick out like maybe 2 or 3 tracks that I would consider listening to again. But as an album, I don't think I'm going to return to this in full anytime soon, at least. So I'd probably give it like maybe like a C+ for
enough.
like overall, and like I don't know, like a 6.2 out of 10.
All right, you just got your ticket revoked.
All right, it's okay. I figured.
Ben lost all respect for Matt.
It's okay. There wasn't much to begin with, so I mean,
Let Matt in and he took it.
I let Matt in and it hurt.
Oh.
Evan, what did you think of this album?
I think in saying it, I'm going to sound more torn than I am. I'll say this up front. I think it's a 7 out of 10. I think it's an A tier. What I'm conflicted on the album is the lyrics and not being as into a lot of the heavier sections. Although with both of those, listening to it as an album, that kind of fades into the background as it's more of an experience.
Yeah.
And part of their talent is the fact that they were able to make this cohesive album where it both works if you want to pick out songs and also if you're listening through. And is someone who for a couple years was exposed to a lot of heavier music, the majority of which I can't say I fully enjoyed. This is probably the best thing I heard kind of coming out of that. I mean, it turnstiles in a very different direction. That was kind of in the same place around the same time, but
just a different direction.
That's a very different direction because you could hear that on the radio. You can hear it in a Taco Bell commercial.
That's true. Yes,
that's true.
It is a holiday.
But yeah, if I'm
no, it's a holiday.
The look of glee that was on Ben's face just now was something that can't be recreated.
Ken, watch.
For all our video watchers out there.
For an audio description, Ben turned to AJ, put his mouth agape, eyes wide.
Did a bit of a soy jack face.
A bit, yes.
A bit, but not quite. It was an endearing soy jack.
Anyway, I did my summary out of order, so it's time for you. I've said all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very into this kind of music, so obviously I have a little more bias towards it. So first of all, do I like this album? Absolutely. It's easily one of my favorite albums as of the last, I would say maybe 10 years to come out. It just has everything that I could have asked for in terms of the heaviness, but it also introduced me to sounds that I didn't think I would really like until I listened to it. And now I can see myself going down that rabbit hole if I wanted to. It's not a perfect album by any means, but it's a damn good one. So I would give it maybe like a 8.8, and I'd give it like an A tier.
Solid.
I was debating on whether I put it in the 9, but because of Screaming and because of the sad cartoon Reprise and just a couple of small things here and there, I wouldn't put it in the 9 range only because
there are flaws.
There are flaws, but the thing is, like, a lot of this album, like, you know, I could say the classic, there are really high highs and really low lows. I don't think there are really low lows. There are certainly high highs, and I would say it's like whole songs that are high highs. So like that's why like
It's just strong.
Very strong. So yeah, 8.8 feels good. And I'm personally not a huge fan of Screaming. It's a fine song, but that really dropped it a lot for me.
Gotcha.
And then, the sad cartoon, just the whole sad cartoon theme got really annoying.
The suite, if you will.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
All right.
I will say, like, this kind of falls into why I love doing, like, guest episodes, because hearing how passionately they can describe what they love about the albums, honestly, like, it definitely gave me more respect for this album. So thank you for articulating.
You're really earning that ticket, aren't you?
I just want to see Loathe so bad.
So bad.
I overall enjoyed this album more than I expected it to. I think definitely being around the heavier scene has helped me appreciate metal a lot more. And even though the heavier stuff isn't what I particularly liked about this album, there are still moments on here that I really fucked with. And I think they blend the heavy and like the softer melodic stuff very well, especially when it does it both at the same time. I think their masters are kind of switching back and forth. Pacing overall, I think is pretty solid. There's a couple of like weird spots in there. Like into Gored is
I totally
not
forgot
great.
Pacing I loved on this album, but that's just me personally.
I think it's very well done for the most part. Just a couple of little hiccups there. The instrumentals are all great. The drums specifically and the guitar tones are awesome. Lyrics are very much an afterthought for me. They don't mean anything at all. But again, it's a kind of an experience to just like sit down and listen to and just like let it wash over you all the way through. So I'd say I enjoyed it overall, but it's not a favorite. So like a solid B tier. And I guess with that, we can move on to our next album.
Yeah, because there is another album.
Yes. An hour and 30 minutes in.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I was bored of Canada.
And that'll do it for this week's episode. Where do we go from there?
Thank you guys for coming.
A much different album than the last.
Yes.
It is Music Has the Rights to Children by Boards of Canada, as Evan said earlier. Quite an interesting, I'd also say, experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's an experience. Before we get started here, I feel like I have to ask, like, okay, so this is an album I really enjoy, obviously. I brought it on for a reason, and I was kind of talking to you two about it, but it's a very weird album to bring onto a show like this.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, when, AJ, you were talking about starting this, I brought this album up, and you were like, I don't know if that would work. And I mean, I could also say that from personal experience, the first time I listened to this, I thought it was pretty good. I really liked Roygbiv.
Yeah, of course.
And then I kept listening and kept listening, and now we're here. So I brought it on partially because I think it's interesting, considering at most you guys have heard it a handful of times. Yeah, it's just interesting because I'm interested to hear the perspective of hearing it a handful of times versus...
I mean, this is an album, I don't know if I've told you like my appreciation for it, but like whenever I'm in a certain mood, I always go to this album. So I've heard it like a lot.
It's a certain mood type of album.
Yeah, and I really enjoy it thoroughly. I just had a really hard time writing down my notes for like specific tracks all the way through. Yeah. But I just more so enjoyed the overall experience.
Yeah, it's a bit hard, and even like a lot of the notes I have, which we'll get to, is far more context than the song.
Let's do it.
Let's hop right into it.
Let's do it. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I got some history here for us.
Go off with the history, Evan.
Awesome. All right. Boards of Canada are an electronic duo consisting of the brothers Mike Sanderson and Marcus Owen. So they were born in Scotland and moved to Calgary in the late 70s before moving back to Scotland in the 80s. That's important because I'm pretty sure every piece of music they've released is kind of talking about their time living both places. But yeah, they had been making music since they were kids, but didn't find wider recognition until Sean Booth of, forgive me, Autechre?
In the description, yeah.
Anyway, he heard something from them. I've heard multiple answers on that, and signed them to Scam, and then they proceeded to release a couple EPs. And then on April 20th, 1998, both Scam and then Warp Records, a huge name kind of in this scene, helped them put out their first widely available album, Music Has the Right to Children.
Yeah, and it certainly does, Evan.
It certainly
yes.
does. Yeah, in terms of peak album, this is certainly the one that brought them to the most attention. It's the one that I think is stuck in people's minds the most.
Definitely.
If you're a fan or a fan of electronic music, you probably could make the same argument for Gio Gotti.
Yeah, but this one has like their most popular song on it.
It does. And yeah, Gio Gotti is far more of a concept album. You start it, you listen to it.
Yeah, you don't pick and choose on that one.
It's a little hard. I mean, you know, occasionally I'll be like, I'm in the mood.
Beware the friendly strangers.
Sometimes I just want to feel scared. I'm like, got it. Okay, we're good.
Haha, I get it.
You ever seen Salad Fingers?
Oh yeah, do you know Salad Fingers?
Oh,
on
God.
YouTube?
Oh,
I mean,
my
I've heard of it. I've never seen it though.
So the song from Salad Fingers is a Boards of Canada song.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
I think it just dropped a point or two. No, I'm just kidding.
Music has the right to Salad Fingers.
Well, you're telling me.
All right. Well, let's get started with this track listing. So first off, we have Wildlife Analysis.
Yeah, that very solid opener. Sounds like you're waking up.
Yeah. Also, occasionally my morning alarm,
Which is very, very fitting for you, Evan.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like it's a great introduction because...
Yeah, I didn't ask. Anyway.
Next up is Roygbiv.
It sure isn't.
We spent an hour and a half on your album. We're going to spend 5 minutes on mine. Thanks. No, but I think this is a good intro because it sounds like it's going to be starting a melody.
Yeah.
And then it just wanders off.
Definitely.
And like a lot of this album, it works both if you're actively listening to it and then also if you kind of have it on in the background. And with that, it's kind of a give and take because if you're actively listening, it might get a little bit repetitive.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to it almost passively,
yeah, you're going to miss some stuff.
But there's also moments it kind of grabs your attention back. Less in this song, but...
It throughout the entire album.
Yeah.
I agree. I think I definitely more so enjoy this as a passive listen, but it's still very well done all the way through.
Yeah.
And I think this opener definitely sets the tone very well. It's got these really cool fluttery keys that will appear a lot on this album.
Yep. There's a bunch of original stuff on this album. A decent amount of it is kind of compiled from earlier releases.
Okay.
And this was taken from a release that was kind of sent out to family and friends. And eventually got played on French radio and then leaked online. And so there's tracks like this. And I'll point out as we go on just to say, like, it's interesting to see how much they kind of build off of their earlier stuff and also take from their earlier releases for this album specifically.
Gotcha.
I'm going to be very, very short because I don't really have much to say on any of the songs. I more or less just have general thoughts. So I'll say, yeah, good intro.
Solid. Matt?
So yeah, I mean the intro is very, very neat. I like the synths, whatever kind of like settings they had on them. That was really, really interesting. Like it definitely, much like I guess the last album, in a weird way, there are a lot of interludes in between these sort of like beats.
Definitely.
Which is a very odd like Venn diagram middle, I would say. But yeah, no, I think it's it definitely kind of sets a tone that this is definitely going to be a very vibey sort of like
ambient listen.
Yeah, and it's fun how it like bleeds into the next track too. I have a lot of comparisons sound wise, and I feel like if I mention all of them, it's just gonna make the both of you angry. But I promise you,
please,
I promise you that I like this.
Cool.
But the this sounded like now granted. I don't mind Coldplay as much as my cohort over there does.
Yes.
There are some parts of them that I actually do kind of appreciate, and this kind of sounds like the outro to the song "Death and All Its Friends."
Okay. Yeah.
Because it has like a very overly synthesized thing. The comparisons might get a little worse though, but I promise I generally like this.
I mean, they're already.
So the next track is Melanie Martinez vibes.
Very wet.
That was something I did say, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
With that, are we ready to go on to the next track?
I think
I
so.
love nothing more.
All right. So we've got An Eagle in Your Mind.
First real track of the album.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like this really introduces how the longer tracks on this play out.
Yeah.
You have that sort of hip hop beat. You have
like a core loop that is just kind of like present throughout.
Yeah.
With some like little additions and vocal samples.
You also have with the vocal samples, there's parts on this album that I think subliminal would work better on, but like that's kind of what they're going for a lot of this.
Yeah.
And so the distortion, sometimes having them run backwards or just completely chopped up.
Yeah, like pitched up, pitched down, kind of glitch them out a little bit.
And this is something I didn't know until looking it up. And again, with this band, they're pretty private. A lot of info you got to take with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
This one I kind of believe. Apparently the percussion was made from a vocal sample of Mike's girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking back, it kind of makes sense.
Sure, I could see it.
Yeah, and there's like a brief part in it where there's a speech. I looked it up. That's from a documentary about otters.
Oh yeah, I saw that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're talking about holts, which are apparently where otters live.
I see.
Yeah.
But
I think I don't really know.
I think I confused holts with another term for horse, which is colt.
Colt.
And I was like, oh, cool. We got an equestrian sort of
theme.
Equestrian and Aquarius.
Yes, and I confused it for the Shia LaBeouf movie Holes.
Of course.
So we're really hitting the gauntlet. Ben, what'd you confuse it for? What rhymes with Holtz?
Moles.
I let it in and it took everything.
Loathe. Shit, sorry.
Holtz.
No, I'll say actually, out of all the songs, this is my favorite one.
Interesting.
I can see that.
AJ can attest to this. When I first listened to this, the very first thing I thought was, whoa, I now see an influence that Linkin Park had. Because specifically the electronic elements, because earlier in Linkin Park's days, they did a lot more. They had a lot of instrumental sampling that they did on the side or as B-sides and stuff like that. And this was the first song where I was like, oh shit, now I see where they got their inspiration from. Because specifically the drum beat tone, whatever samples they were using for the drum beat was in my head almost identical, but it was fantastic. I loved the sound of it.
The drum beat is from Sister Sanctified by Stanley Turrentine and Milt Jackson.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great sample.
Yeah, fantastic sample. So yeah, this was a song that even the synths, I was like, man, it's very similar to what I could hear on a Linkin Park song. So I really liked this song because it kind of tied those two things for me, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
If we're talking about samples, I will say all across this record, I've never heard anybody sample other pieces of music in the way that they did on this record.
Yeah. They use very obscure pieces of music and media.
And kind of twist it and distort it in these really interesting ways.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah, which is funny because I forget which two of the tracks. I have it in my notes, but there's an MIA and Diplo song that samples, I think it's Kaini Industries, and then there's a Suicide Boys track that samples
Oh shit, really?
something, and I listened to them out of curiosity. Which one's the Suicide Boys one? Yeah, and it's Color of the Fire, so the next track. With both of those songs that sample Boards of Canada, it's funny because they do the exact opposite. It is just the track under the beat.
Gotcha.
And that's it, which I thought was kind of funny considering, one of the coolest things about this album is that, it can be hard to even figure out what the sample is to begin with. People are still trying to figure it out. But, if we can move on to the next song, I don't know. Did anyone look up, the clip that this directly samples?
No.
Because this one's pretty direct. It's a clip from Sesame Street, and they basically just...
Oh, I Love You.
Yeah, it's like a whole clip. And even though they basically just take it verbatim, the way that they change the texture and add
the speed,
it's real. I don't know how they thought of it.
It's very uncanny.
I take that back. I think I know how they thought of it. They've said this is most likely based on a friend's experience with acid.
That checks out. Yeah. I guess this is when he's watching Sesame Street.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. Oh my god.
Lord almighty.
But yeah, The Color of Fire is very weirdly, it's uncanny, but there's a theme of nostalgia attached to it as well. With just how the sample is utilized. It's you're kind of trying to grasp a memory but can't quite get it there.
Yeah, and that's something that if there's a main goal of their sound, that's it. And it's interesting having this come out in 98 and then the next year you have, Selected Memories from the Haunted Ballroom by The Caretaker.
Oh, wow.
So you have these two very influential of what kind of became known as like hauntology, hypnagogic pop, both coming out of people experimenting with techniques from kind of the rave scene, because in a way this comes out of techno and house, but at this point in Boards of Canada's career, it's more in the influence than in the product.
Gotcha.
High Scores or some of their earlier stuff does sound a bit more like techno, and some of their live stuff does too. But it is interesting that both of those artists came out of
that scene.
Yeah, because if you listen to like techno or acid
you would never expect them to go from there.
Yeah.
It's a very odd pipeline.
Yeah, the pipeline from acid house to
the Color of Fire.
To the Color of Fire to like
Everywhere at the End of Time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Funny, I was forgetting that.
It did what it set out to do.
Yeah. I really love Color of the Fire just as a piece of sampling, as an experience.
Yeah.
For the emotion it kind of brings on.
I gotcha, which is very fair. It's definitely a very prevalent emotion.
Yeah, this was good.
It certainly was a Boards of Canada song.
I like this song.
It definitely was a very interesting interlude.
Yeah.
It's the first one, right? Technically?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
Excluding the
first
intro.
proper
Yeah.
interlude.
No, I do like the e-piano underscoring, and like the voice is like eerie, but like you said, it kind of like bleeds with this sort of nostalgic feel.
Yeah.
So I love how like not really involved it feels, but how much direction it somehow has. I think it's like fun.
I guess with nothing else, we can move on to the next track. This is the track where the bit comes from, Ben.
Yeah.
Telephasic Workshop.
What I wrote down is it sounds like someone just took sounds from a train station and remixed it. Because you have this like, I mean, the kind of Boards of Canada bell tone of it. And then you just have all these random voices passing by you. And this isn't even the weirdest of how they cut up vocals. I feel like, what is it, Nlogax?
No
IDM
idea.
songs.
That's a villain from Ben 10, I'm pretty sure. I think, as far as I know.
Wrong.
I could be wrong.
He's after the
It'll be in the
Omnitrix.
description.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about this is that this was technically the single.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
I could see why.
It was a promotional single. I think it was only like 200 copies of like a 12-inch vinyl. It was this on the A side, Roygbiv on the B side, and then Aquarius was also released as a single before the album, I think, was announced.
Gotcha,
So
which that fits very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we'll get to that. But yeah, I love the sound of the kick on here. And I really like kind of in that sort of subtle detail. It's like halfway to 2/3 in the song, it just switches the beat.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, I didn't pick that up for a while. So that's one of those like, oh, that's
Neat.
cool. Yeah.
Rewarding.
Yeah.
I will say like a lot of these tracks really remind me of like video game music. Like I could see this in like early Halo or something as like a level like the library. Which I liked a lot. It was kind of like cool like hearing the influences from this album on some what maybe some composers listen to and influence their work, which is interesting. But I like the sample. That goes for all these tracks. They're very cool. It's just very hard to describe in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ben can say very well if you'd like to repeat that. There you
that
go.
could be true. Like the band has done a bunch of interviews. They've only done one audio interview. I don't think there's any video recording of the group
At all?
at all. I don't think so.
Damn. Like they'd never done like public interviews?
I mean, they did an interview on the John Peel show, which I think the total of that audio is maybe like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. They're just quiet.
Yeah. They're like the Thomas Pynchon of music.
You're bringing him up more than he is.
I'm really just baiting him at this point.
I'm not falling for it. This episode's long enough. Do you really want to get me
No, not in
started?
that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which I think should
Yeah.
transition us to this next track, Triangles and Rhombuses.
Yeah, I liked it. You know, it was great. I really liked track number 4 quite a lot.
Matt, I had enough of you. I'm done. I'm getting a new co-host.
All right, fine.
Isn't this track number 5?
No, well, the
I
joke
didn't
is Matt never
I
shared
didn't
his
say
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
about that
Oh,
track.
yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was atmospheric, and I liked it.
Thank you, Matt. I'm sorry for
Okay,
interrupting
now
you.
we'll move on.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's it. Let's just keep going.
All right.
Triangles and Rhombuses, it definitely sounds like Shapes in my opinion.
Yeah.
The really cool synth riffs and some wispy, windy atmosphere in the background. The phasers are very neat, and there's a very cool sweet up at the end that sounds like a corrupted PSA.
Yeah.
It's like a weird, like it's almost jazzy. The outro with like the chords they have for these like really weird, like somber sounding like synth horns.
Yeah.
And that ending appears on an unofficial release called Random 35 Tracks, which most people agree is probably legit.
Okay.
But again, jury's out. Like, there's no official confirmation of it.
I gotcha.
I mean, okay, this is never better in my opinion than Roygbiv. I really like this song. I will put this on repeat occasionally.
Nice.
I just like the way it sounds.
Fair enough.
This one also kind of sounds like a train. Like, the way it goes
I've been
is
in
like...
these goddamn trains.
I mean, what do you expect out of me? But the distance of it, I like the control of volume.
Yeah.
And I like as it increases in volume, you have that like weird sub bass thing going on. Yeah, great little track.
It's a cool little short little ditty.
I kind of like this sense of foreboding it sort of has throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think they have the duo definitely has a nice inherent sense of melody making. Like where it's like intuitive enough, but also kind of leaves you on your toes a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a vibe. It's ambient.
Yeah, that goes for most of these tracks.
Yeah, I mean, this is at a point where a lot of the songs for me just started blending together where like I don't even remember what the song really sounds like. But it was fine. None of the songs I had any complaints with. All of them were very
Well done.
well done for what they are.
Just personally.
Like I said, it's just everything starts blending together. So I could be confusing this song for like Bocuma or like
Rue the Whirl.
No, definitely not that. 'Cause that's where I definitely started hitting my fatigue.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I thought it was fine. I don't know what else to say. It was good.
I mean, it's pretty short.
Yeah.
It's just solid for what it is. But next up, we have 6010.
This song I did like. I do remember this song, and I remember like really vibing with it.
Nice.
I don't know why, but this song specifically, I was like really into. I mean, the tone shaping on this album as a whole is just fantastic. There's nothing that isn't soothing to the ear. Everything is
very pleasing.
Very pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like how like alien a lot of these tracks kind of sound. Like they sound like they're from not like Earth. It just sounds like there's like aliens trying to make music.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of sci-fi elements, which I dig a lot.
I find it fun because like this one has a really like skeletal like synthesizer sort of intro, but then like when the beat kicks in, it's like nothing like you would expect. I feel like like you wouldn't expect a beat like that with like an intro that it starts off with.
Exactly.
Yeah, this song scares me. I do not. It's like Fighter. I don't know what it is.
It is very ominous.
I don't like this song. Gives me bad vibes. I don't want to be. I was listening to this. I mean, for the episode, but I probably would have listened to it anyway. And I got up and did something else, so I wasn't as close to the speakers. This song, it's like Fire on Smile. Like there's something off about this song.
I gotcha.
I don't like, and I just want it to be over.
I can see what you mean, honestly.
Which doesn't help when it goes into the part where someone's saying All Alone in the middle of it. If you ever look up the Earth, Wind, and Fire samples that this comes from, I do not know how anyone placed it because it is like all the samples just distorted.
Oh, damn.
I mean, to the point where I've heard it back to back. I'm like, but I don't know how someone was able to pick that out. Also, the title reminds me of how dumb French is because that's what it's named after. Because do you know how counting works in French?
No. Why would I? They're French.
I don't. Yeah, fair. I've wasted some of my life learning French. After 69, it goes from 69 to 6010.
Instead of
6011 to 6012. Yeah. And then you get to 80, which is 420, and then 421, and then
Damn,
422.
they got 69 and 420?
Dude, they
That's
got
so
all
sick.
the funny numbers.
That's
I gotta
awesome.
move there.
Did they have 21 too?
No, they weren't that ahead of their time.
Damn. For the 21 kid, there was no number in France.
God damn it.
Vente, it's just 21 does not exist.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah. Please don't judge how bad my French accent is.
That's okay.
Better than anything I could do.
We don't speak French.
Yeah.
We speak American here.
We'd like you to remember that.
Were the American all? I don't fucking know what I was about to say. Never mind. Never mind.
Cool. So next we got Turquoise Hexagon Sun.
I like this one.
Yeah, I really like this one too. This comes from the High Scores EP, and kind of the mood of this is reflected on that whole album.
Okay.
especially on the song Everything You Do Is a Balloon, which is, I'd say, of their like non-album tracks, probably their best known, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I really like it. It sounds like you're listening to something going on like next door, or almost like when
muffled.
you were, or like when you were a kid and like
there's a party going on downstairs and you're upstairs. Yeah. This track really reminds me of the Moonside music from Earthbound, which I really fucked with a lot. I really enjoyed the beat and the kind of chime-esque keys. I guess like the Boards of Canada bell sounds.
The signature bell tone.
Yeah. It was really nice.
This is probably the most Boards of Canada bell tone.
I would agree. I really like it though.
Me too. I feel like it's weird. Like the crash sample they kind of do on this beat, it's fascinating because it almost sounds like someone sampled a dude doing dishes at like a busy restaurant. And I kind of like the way that like as you get further into the song, the conversations that you can only sort of make out start to like swell and get to like the front of your like audio periphery or whatever.
Cool.
And it's it's cool. It's like somber but also cozy at the same time.
Absolutely. I wrote ominous but peaceful. Yeah, very
Also,
similar vibes.
Someone's playing like pool in the background. Like there's the sound of
Cue balls, that's cool.
I thought I heard something like that. It's a very particular sound.
or billiards, I guess snooker if it's in the UK.
What did the French say?
Snooker.
60-10.
Le billiards.
La billiard.
Les billiards.
Le table with the marble balls.
They do say French is one of the most beautiful languages.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was good.
All right, next up.
Next we have
Kaini?
Kaini Industry. This is named after a real company that provided employment for a Cree settlement in Canada. I don't know where. But yeah, I have less to say about this song.
Yeah, this is a pretty short one.
Yeah. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Bibio did a cover for the 20th anniversary of Warp Records, which is really cool, because they're more folktronica, which Boards of Canada went into with like Campfire Head Phase.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Thanks.
As the aficionado, yes.
As a Boards of Canada,
As a board head.
as a board head, loved it.
As a Canadian.
As a Canadian, I really got
loved
bored
it.
with it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's on streaming. It's a really cool cover of it.
It sounds like a futuristic factory, so definitely living up to the name. A lot of cool, like, warbly synths in like a staccato pattern. They're just kind of, you kind of hear what you get.
Yeah.
Sound for what it is.
I like the naturalistic ending. Again, no one seems to know for certain when this.
Liam, get the fuck out. He wants round 2. Don't let him in.
Yeah, this was good.
Next track is Bocuma. Originally the title track from BOC Maxima. It was named that on that album.
Okay.
And it did go on a little bit longer. Does anyone have much to say about this one?
I like the flute sounds overall.
It's nice, but even of the transition songs, this is easily the most repetitive. It's the one thing.
I gotcha. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was very peaceful sounding. There's kind of like a sense of grandeur and triumph, which I liked a lot as well.
It has like a fanfare kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
A lot of alliteration there. I don't know. I didn't mean for that.
It was good. It shows how you're improving
That's what
the
I was
speaking.
gonna say. It was good.
But yeah, I thought it was a pretty refreshing track overall. I didn't really mind the amount of time that it stayed. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy it. I don't have much to say about it, especially
Considering
when it leads
what's next.
into
Roygbiv. Probably my favorite Boards of Canada song. I love it.
Which I actually do have something to say about this song. I finally have something.
It was good.
I thought about doing that bit. No.
Bro.
This song was like the most like Mordecai Rigby like jam kind of song. Like I could imagine them
Like a regular show
like
song,
a regular
yeah.
show bit kind of song, and I loved that.
I love this song so much. I love the beat. It's
that was
great.
all I could think of. Besides that, it was good.
Oh, we got it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I did not expect Mordecai and Rigby to be brought up talking about this record whatsoever.
They're kind of like the Boards of Canada of Cartoon Network, you know?
Summertime.
But,
Loving in the summertime.
Gonna go to the beach, gonna do some beachy things.
Wait, that wasn't
Gonna
Boards
go
of
to Canada. Gonna go to Boards of Canada.
I thought Boards of Canada wrote that song. They did.
Yeah, that was in their beach, their tropical beach phase.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
All right.
That was their Kokomo.
Boards of
That was
Canada
like-
just love beach. Yeah, don't play this around Benson. He's gonna fucking explode.
Anyway, Evan,
Yeah, I mean, depending on the day, this might be my favorite song of all time.
And I see why.
Yeah.
I don't, it's hard for me to talk about it. I feel like it's just perfect.
It's fantastic.
They put everything
that they practice.
Yeah. I mean, the hip hop element is a bit less on this one, but it really does feel like the culmination of the album, what they were going for.
Yeah.
You have all the vocal samplings in there.
Yeah.
You have, even though there's less trip hop elements, you still have like the beat in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Like the
perfect.
shuffle. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mention that. Yeah, this is, in a lot of ways, sounds far more like trip hop than dance music. I mean, it's called IDM, but how the hell do you dance to 90%?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I mean, IDM might be the most hated genre name of all time by the people who made the music. Probably second only to krautrock, because that was legitimately offensive. But yeah,
It's just good.
it's just perfect.
All the way through. I kind of wish it was longer, honestly.
Me too.
There is a longer version, technically on the BOC Maxima album. Again, not fully confirmed. There's a mix called Alpha Quest, which allegedly was made for a student film. There is some proof that this was their doing.
Yeah.
And it has like an extra part in it that's kind of cool with another vocal sample. It's nice to have a longer version. It's not in great quality.
Gotcha.
I like the original. The original is just perfect.
I agree.
It's one of those where I don't really want to add or subtract anything. It's just
It's very well done.
everything in the song revolves around that bass tone.
Yeah, which is so fucking
which
nice.
everyone has been chasing
Yeah.
since this came out. I mean, it's just that first note just hits you.
It does.
Yeah, the only other thing I will add is I almost wish a lot of the songs on the album,
Sounded more like that.
not even sounding, but almost like time-wise, were as concise as it is. Because the thing about the album as a whole that I didn't care for was just how egregiously long some of these songs were. Like it didn't need to be. You could have fit a lot of the elements that they wanted to into like a 3 to 4 minute track. They didn't need to be 6+. And that's why I loved this song, is because they did fit everything in that 2.5 minute mark time.
And they did it perfectly.
And they did it perfectly. Yeah, it's a fantastic song.
Just, you go.
I was just going to say, I think certain songs I can see it. If you're referring to Aquarius with that, I could not agree.
Yeah,
No, and actually, funny enough, Aquarius, I want to.
I really like Aquarius.
Yeah, Aquarius actually, we'll get there when we get there, but I'll
Because
just
that
say,
is a longer
that's another
track as
song.
well.
It's a longer track, but that one they do a good job of pacing.
I was just going to say, do you know how many streams offhand it has on Spotify?
42,151,502.
Yeah. I just said 42,000, which is... It's
42
not incorrect.
Americans.
Listen to this album.
In
yeah.
Canadian, that's not about 96,000.
I kind of wish I could say it better, but this song is just, it's perfect.
It's really good. It's got a great melody, great bass line, great drum beats, great samples. It's fantastic all the way through, and it doesn't overstay its welcome.
It's pretty much
Better
just like
ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's.
Exactly.
pretty much just like a centerpiece for this experience.
Yeah. Totally.
It also, this is the center of the album.
This is literally the halfway point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why you said it.
This is where you have to...
That's why I said it, right, man?
That's why you said it, right, Matt?
So the next track is called Rue the Whirl.
I like this one.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of a...
It's factory core.
Yeah. I wrote down it's more rhythmic focused after the last 3 tracks.
Yeah.
And it feels like the song is going in like 2 different directions at once, which is a cool effect. The other thing is that there's a story that they left the window open in their recording studio when recording this, which is why you can hear a bird on most of the track.
Nice.
Which is funny because I don't know if this came before or after they added all of the other bird sounds.
At the very end.
Are the other birds real? Because there's...
Well, birds aren't real.
Well, yeah,
in
they're
general.
not real in
No, they are
Birds
robotic.
of Canada.
Birds of Canada.
The cover
furry
band,
version.
the cover band that we didn't know
Run
we
by
needed.
furries, yeah.
Anyway, I like it. It's not one I put on just on its own most of the time.
I think it's a cool like listening experience. Just like setting up the scene. I get like dystopian, like futuristic factory kind of vibes of just like repetition, especially with that like percussive rhythm. And then you have kind of like the more like flowy, like naturey outro, which is kind of tells like a whole little story in there, which I think is really interesting.
I really like how it ends, like that, where it goes a bit more melodic. It's also weird. This one has like a weird life outside of the album. It was in a Mercedes-Benz commercial.
What the fuck?
And also on the show Spaced, which was
Simon Pegg?
Yeah. It was the show him and kind
Nick
of that
Frost?
team did. Yeah, before
Edgar Wright
Cornetto
movies,
trilogy, yeah.
Does your Mercedes-Benz not rue the whirl?
If my car sounded like this song, I'd be a little concerned.
That would not make me want to buy a car.
I'll say this is definitely the track that I was getting fatigued with, where I was constantly looking at like, all right, how much longer is this song? Where is it going? Kind of like that vibe. So yeah, that's kind of all I had for this song.
It's not good.
It's not that it's not good. Again, none of these songs are bad. It's just it got
old.
It just got it got old. It got repetitive, a little too repetitive for me. Yeah, and I'll go into my deeper thoughts later, but I don't think I listened to this album the right way, and I feel like you do need to be in a mindset for it, and I certainly was not there. So, but we'll get into that later.
Right. Well, next up we have another highlight. We have Aquarius. This song is fucking awesome. I really like it a lot.
The artificial sounding bass on this is like so neat.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a great song.
Gives me like vaporwave vibes a little bit.
I can kind of see
some like proto vaporwave.
Yeah, I mean, Boards of Canada were definitely influential into that. There's a track on Campfire Head Phase called 84 Pontiac Dream, which it just starts and you go, oh, that's vaporwave. Like, it's one of those just, I don't know if there's an earlier example from someone trying to make that sound, but that you listen to it and you go, oh, there it is.
There it is. Yeah, I gotcha.
But like Roygbiv is my favorite song off of this album. I think this song is probably the most quintessential Boards of Canada song. It has everything.
Definitely.
Especially it's the most obvious in terms of the subliminal aspect.
Yeah. Orange.
And all the numbers add up to 666, which is neat. Every time they've played it, they've done it differently with different numbers, and
that's
still
cool.
always
adds up. 666.
They did it live for a Warp performance for their 10th anniversary. That one's really cool. I think I like that better than the album version.
Oh, nice.
They also did it on the John Peel show where they did their own
iconic interview.
I guess the only other thing I have to say about this, it was weird. So the main sample is from the Hair soundtrack of that bass line.
Yeah.
I was in Penn State and I saw a student production of Hair out in a park, and there were a bunch of kids laughing during it, and I was like, "This is uncanny. This is the song. You can't fool me." And then I pulled down the curtain, and Boards of Canada were there.
Yeah, and you found them.
Yeah, I found them. Yeah, no, that was a weird experience because I was just like, "This is
wrong.
This is
not
eerily similar," which is, I think they would have appreciated. Maybe might. I mean, I think they're alive. It's not.
Yeah, who's to say?
Who's to say?
I really like the main, just kind of like the melody of this track. It's very pleasing. It's very soothing. The vocal samples are really cool. I didn't know about the 666 thing. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, which obviously you've listened to Gio Gotti.
Yeah.
That is the next album. They go, oh, that's a cool idea.
Let's keep doing that.
Let's do that for an
hour and 20 minutes.
Ooh, that's an album.
Yeah. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about that one. The happier one.
Yeah, I'd say this was probably my second favorite song on the album. I really enjoyed this through and through. I think the thing that kept me intrigued with this one was the building aspect of it, because you obviously felt like it was building to something, especially the counting aspect of it, and it kept me intrigued the entire time.
Yeah.
But even just the instrumentals were fantastic. The artificial bass line, that's one of the things, funny enough, that stood out to me the most, and I loved it all the way through and
definitely.
through.
And I guess with that, we can move on to the next track.
Olson. Surprisingly popular.
Yeah, which is very interesting. Yeah. It's like a little interlude track. It's very well done, very peaceful.
Oh, yeah.
But I wouldn't expect that to be like, I think it's like the number 2 on Spotify.
It is, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. 27 million.
I'm not going to try to read the number again. I failed at that the first time.
You know who's good at reading numbers?
Boards of Canada.
Now, I saw a comment, I think it was on YouTube, where it was a teacher saying that they played this for like their preschool students to calm down, which I'm
that's haunting. Holy shit.
I'm very mixed about that.
And they're all in therapy to this day.
Yeah.
They're like, every time I hear Boards of Canada, which isn't very often.
Yeah. I cry.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's a peaceful song, but
It's
like I would show it to my kids.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say that either.
Yeah, it's like it's creepy in an uncanny way, which I like, but I don't think 3-year-olds dig that.
Well, calm them down, obviously.
I guess if it works, it works.
They're actually
Those Canadians.
They're actually in a coma.
I mean, in fairness, like a big inspiration for this album is things like
From
PSA's, Sesame Street,
Yeah.
things on TV that had this like vague, threatening aspect to them.
Uh-huh.
So again, they probably appreciate that use for the song.
Definitely.
They also like revisited this a bunch under the name Olson and then also under the Coke sign later on, but it's the same chord progression. The title's either referencing a friend who also directed a music video of theirs.
Yeah, or Mary Kay and Ashley Olsen like Tally Hall.
Or the exact opposite, which is Frank Olson.
And I was thinking our middle school band teacher. That's all I was thinking of.
Because the Boards of Canada collectively went to the same high school we all
Pentatonics
went
High.
to.
Yeah. Because, don't be Messer. You'll just be messy.
Yeah.
I'm glad it applies to all scenarios.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I like this track.
Me too.
And anything else?
I think it's honestly my favorite out of all the interludes.
Yeah, I would agree.
I also think like it might be the most ambient out of all of them.
yeah.
I mean, if it's lulling 3-year-olds to sleep,
It's doing something,
what
right?
if that was like the focus group testing? Like
It's just 3-year-olds.
it's like it's a great song. Can it?
Does it put my 3-year-old to
Listen,
sleep?
I got a fucking screamer in the back of my minivan.
Yeah,
you think you
Loathe
could like
failed on that regard.
Yeah, I put on Red Room and my kid's freaking the fuck out right now. Yeah, I thought this song was good.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic Ben Opinion. There's a certified Ben Opinion moment.
It was.
Next up, we have Pete standing alone.
I felt bad for Pete.
Yeah.
Why?
He was standing alone.
That's his name. That's a guy's name.
yeah,
Oh,
Pete
Pete
Board and then
Jim Canada.
Yeah, so there was, I don't think I mentioned this yet. The name of the band comes from the National Film Board of Canada, which still exists. It produced documentaries, a series of which starred Pete standing alone, including, I think, one that was titular called that, and then he also starred in a bunch of others. So those documentaries, and then also the soundtracks to them, which if you look up, sound exactly like the interstitials, sound like the samples. And so this is like the one title people are like 100% sure they know the meaning to. Because they're like, oh, it's the guy from the National Film Board of Canada movies, as opposed to like, again, Olson, where they're like, I think it's one of their friends.
Just speculation.
It also could be a really messed up story about acid, which that's a whole other thing. But this one's kind of become a favorite over time. I like how compressed it is.
I gotcha.
It makes it stand out as opposed to the rest of the album.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have like too much to say about there. It's like more of like the trip hop with some like screechy synths. And there's some like nice studio imagery of like water flowing at some point, which is cool.
Like in between each of the more higher action moments, I would say. I feel like it's just like a nice little thing of studio imagery, but you said that already.
Stealing your thunder again. There's a nice beat switch at some point as well, which is very cool.
The beat is something I can only describe of the sound of somebody blowing really hard into a gaming headset.
I mean, that part where it sounds like they say bonds, it might be a Kraftwerk sample. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's distorted to the point of it could be anything.
I remember liking this song, but this is another one of those songs where I don't actually remember what it sounds like. I just remember being like, oh, this is cool. What song is this? And I saw it was Pete standing alone. So yeah, it was good.
Next up, we have Smoke's Quantity. This is a little harsher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of sound, which is neat.
This is the only full song off of Twoism that made it on. And I mean, this has a really sort of warbled sound to it, like no pitch is staying. And that's what that entire EP album sounds like, which is why I'm kind of mixed on it. I feel like that gets a little bit old because every song on there does that same thing. But I think just having that on
Just
here
one,
is kind of a better fit. I like listening to this more in context of this than that.
Yeah, I gotcha. The vocal sample, I said, it sounds like the sound the Eraserhead baby makes.
Oh, God.
And that was my big takeaway from here.
Jesus Christ.
There's also some like creepy dystopian keys that kind of sound like sirens or alarms in the background.
Yeah.
It's a very ominous track. It's very well done.
I feel like this track would be like very well utilized underneath somebody like trying to spit bars over it.
Do you want to try it out?
turn it on, let's
Playboy
do it.
Cardi.
Bit smoke one. Yeah, it sounds worn down, hopeless, and painful.
Yeah.
Just how I like it here on the Family album.
Thank you, Boards of Canada.
Another song where I remember liking it, but don't actually remember what it sounds like.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Next up, we have Open the Light, the penultimate track to the bass album, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think by this point, my fatigue had officially reached its peak,
Gotcha.
which was pretty surprising up until this point, because I feel like a lot of other factors in this record definitely lent itself to almost get me there. But it wasn't until like 2 tracks to the end where I felt like I was
Like, all right, I'm done.
it's like, how many people are on this board? Okay.
So many.
Fucking Canada.
No, but
Fucking Canada. I hate Canadians.
the bass is pretty sweet on this, though, I will say. And yeah, it kind of gives me like a bit of an Undertale vibe.
Interesting. I wrote like down like safe room music, like video games you hear in like a safe room. I like that.
I mean, it feels like a come down track.
Yeah, 100%.
If you let me go, I could probably talk about all these songs forever, except this one. I really don't have much. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's
It's good. Yeah, the song's good.
Full agreement for the first time.
I think the song is good.
We did it.
This is the one song on here that I have a single line.
Sentence, nice. Hell yeah. So I guess then
And then we get to
the closer.
the closer of the main album.
Yeah.
One very important thought. Did anyone look up what this is about?
Kind of a little like censorship. Like
Okay. So, and I was trying to make a joke about this earlier. It's coming back, the family porno.
Let's go.
There's an adult film called A Brief Affair, which I have not seen. I'm not that big of a fan.
Yeah.
Could you like
Wait, I
send me
remember that
Could you
one.
send me the link?
Yeah, send me the link so I never,
so
yeah,
you know
just so
where
I know
not
I
to
to
find
not
it.
touch it.
Yeah, it's
Just so I know to stay away
it's
from
born
that
from
link.
the 80s. I think it's probably
I just need
pretty
something to
easy
like leave in the
find.
background while I goon. Unrelated, but you know.
Totally unrelated, I swear.
On that train of thought,
Yeah.
bear with me here. So the credits play, and then it's like an anti-piracy screen.
Oh.
It goes black, and it comes back, and they give this speech.
That's haunting.
Yeah,
Holy
it's-
shit.
Look it up. It's fucking creepy.
Jesus.
Because you
Ugh.
have to also
you gotta send that
picturing
link now.
some random guy like watching it.
Yeah.
And then just at the end, it's not this same music underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's this person like, you might be part of a censorship trial.
Yeah.
That might stop you from watching films like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's the whole speech. The only part that's different is instead of saying Boards of Canada, it's
Yeah. Something
adult
else.
entertainment.
Yeah.
I think.
That like changed my entire perspective on the song. I thought it was like, oh,
This
it's like
song
a-
is I love this song
Yeah.
because it's unnerving.
Yeah.
And the way the pitch works is that if you listen to it on repeat, I think it goes up a full pitch during the song.
Oh, shit.
Which is like one of those things you're not going to notice if you're listening
Yeah.
to it.
I always thought this was like kind of like a happy send off, like, oh, like be creative, have fun, guys. Because
no, it's
You
a
know-
vague threat.
You know what? It's funny because I was not thinking that at all, but I could understand why.
Yeah.
I actually thought of it as a really dark ending, almost similar to Loathe, like the ending of that album, and that's why. And I really liked this ending. Like,
Yeah.
I would say this, Aquarius, and
Roygbiv.
Roygbiv and An Eagle in Your Mind. Like, those were the songs that stood out the most.
Yeah.
This outro just being like, well, that was unsettling.
Yeah,
And I didn't even know I didn't know the background, so that's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, I really like that.
I completely just changed my perspective. That's awesome.
The original version on BOC Maxima has the original speech put on to this melody, and then they re-recorded it for the album.
Gotcha.
I think it's a perfect ending, which we'll get to. But Matt,
Yeah.
thoughts?
I would just say that if you're gonna go watch the video, maybe just replay some of the video like earlier. Don't look at the end.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Make sure you finish first before you go to the end.
The worst orgasm you've ever had.
The worst post nut clarity you are ever gonna get.
Cry.
Imagine someone was like, all right, well, it's the credits. Let's keep this going.
You will not be able to watch this film.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been the end.
That would have been, and it was on the original UK release.
Yes.
And
but on all like streaming releases now.
So what happened was it released on 4/20, 1998. Happy belated 26th to this album.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then they went on the John Peel show. They performed 4 songs.
Had their iconic interview.
The iconic interview.
Yeah.
And Happy Cycling was one of them. They were not happy with how it sounded.
Gotcha.
And so they re-recorded it. That re-recorded version eventually ended up on the CD version of that Peel session. And then on the US version, they added it on.
Gotcha.
I love this album. I love this song.
Don't like them together.
It pushes the album.
I 100% agree. I think it's unnecessary.
Man, I can't believe I can say I agree because I swear to God, when this song came on, my first thought was, what the fuck?
And what adds to that is the fact that this song intentionally drones on for a long... Like,
I think it's the longest track on the album.
It is.
almost
7 minutes.
like 50-something seconds.
Yeah.
And I've listened to this so many times. Like, I'm pretty sure it's made my top 5 on Spotify multiple years. I genuinely, without looking at the time bar, do not know when the melody comes in. Like, I can guess. I'm like, Bob dig it. Nope. And then the Seagulls come in. And
the Seagulls. I enjoyed the Seagulls, but
that's
who doesn't?
from a Vangelis song.
Oh, what song?
Vangelis, the guy, the Chariots of Fire guy.
Oh, okay.
The guy who was almost in Yes, and they went, no, we
Gotcha.
can't have more ego in this band.
When Yes says no, that's pretty bad.
Say hello to Patrick Moraz.
Everyone's favorite.
It's a great album.
Yeah.
I definitely will say with this track, I was not expecting like after such a weird tone that track 17 kind of like showed us. I wasn't expecting like the Fresh Prince theme like right after that. But I mean, I think it's a pretty like okay like little bonus thing.
I agree.
But it did feel kind of weird.
Yeah.
I also feel like it just takes a little bit too long.
Cut this out.
This sucks. Let's
sucks.
get the final thoughts.
Put on colors.
Yeah, put on colors. Ben, what are your final thoughts?
All right, so this is probably where I'll talk the most about this album.
It's good.
It's good. No, all right. So I listened to this album twice. The first time I listened to it, it was strictly background music, and I thoroughly enjoyed it through and through. Like, I thought it was good, not offensive, like, it was great. The second time I listened to it, it was like I was trying to dial into the parts of the songs, and it was not enjoyable because it was so goddamn repetitive for me. And I'm the kind of listener that I expect changes all the time because ADHD, it keeps my attention.
Yeah.
And this like doesn't do that. However, there's nothing wrong about it. It's really good. Like, there's nothing that's offensive. There's nothing bad. The tone shaping throughout this album is fantastic. Like, it's all very soothing and ambient. So, like, it also doesn't help that I don't think I was in the right headspace to listen to this album.
Yeah.
Like, when listening to it, I could almost see it as just background music at most for me. If it was anything else, like, I was like, yeah, I really want to listen to this song, I don't think I could handle listening to, like, a full song.
I gotcha.
At least not right now. If I was in a different headspace, who knows? But yeah, as a background album from front to back, awesome. Fucking loved it. But I could not just sit there and listen to it and
just
try
stare
and
at
pick
my
apart.
computer screen.
It was really hard doing that. I'm not gonna lie. But with that said, like, originally I was gonna be like, yeah, down the middle. I'll give it like a 5 and a C. But like a 5 also feels really bad. And like, I don't want to give it that. So I'll give it a 7.7 because that feels very middle of the road for me.
Gotcha.
And I'll give it like a B-.
Oh, you gave it a 60-10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what I gave it.
Pretty good callback.
That was good. That was really good.
But yeah, great album. I know I didn't really say much about the songs individually because I genuinely don't remember what most of them sound like.
But as an overall experience,
would I listen to this again? Yeah, probably. Would I ever try and
decipher
the songs themselves? Probably not. And I kind of like it that way. So
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Matt, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, just to kind of add to your last point, Ben, I was going to say, like, I feel like even the most verbose music critics trying to do a track by track, it'd be really hard to describe a lot of how this album is.
It's better experience than like explained.
And as a bit of an experience, if you're just kind of there to kind of take it for what it is, I feel like it very much is a pretty fun one. It takes a lot of interesting turns and kind of dips into nostalgia, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
As an active listen, I think I can also kind of agree with you on that front. Like, I think this album has a really good start. It establishes the tone right off the bat of what you're getting. It's very imaginative and feels like fresh, despite a lot of like the usage of like the sample
and
sounds
loops,
and loops and stuff like that, and like the types of like beats and like sort of like 8-bit pill synth sort of like deal, like in the beginning.
I'm 8-bit pills.
You're off that perk.
Fucking amen, dude.
Perks of Canada really came in clutch.
The perks of Canada. I like the way that the tracks build like off of each element that they introduce, and then they kind of like swell, but then kind of like decrescendo again. Like they do that a lot. I think as well paced as this album is in parts, I did find myself getting like a tad fatigued by the whole like 5-minute to 6-minute track sort of like pattern it did. Personally, like as an active listen, I feel like the record overstays its welcome like a little bit.
I gotcha.
But like, I don't know. It is definitely more of an experience than like
picking and choosing.
Actually, I wanted to add on to the fatigue thing because I forgot to mention that. When listening to it as a background, there was no fatigue. I enjoyed everything I was listening to, and it was like pleasurable the entire time. It was when I was focusing when I was getting really fatigued because I was just waiting for the next track. It felt like
because when you're gooning, you're not really like considering all this stuff.
No, I'm just trying to bust. Like, like I don't think you understand. I'm not edging for fun. I'm edging to reach a goal.
To fit the status quo,
There is a purpose, and it is to climb.
Boards of Canada is not great for edging. Good for gooning, not for edging.
Yeah, there's a clear difference.
Happy cycling is just edging in a song.
Essentially,
Yeah, it really is. I'll just say, like, I can definitely say that, like, the works on here are creatively interesting enough to make it, like, not an unbearable experience. So I could probably agree. Like, I'd give this like a low B and like somewhere in the 7 range. I said like 7.4, but I could see it getting higher. 7.4 out of 10. I should clarify.
Did you say a letter grade?
Low B.
Low B. Cool. Sorry, I'm deaf.
It's okay.
Evan, go off.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty obvious. I really, really enjoyed this album. I mean, I think as an electronic album, as a trip hop album, as a psychedelic album, anything you could put on this, what it's able to do with the samples, with the music to invoke these emotions and images is really unique. And it's hard to find another artist that can do that, let alone in the same way. That's what's attracted me to this album, their entire discography. But, you know, that being said, S tier, 10 out of 10. What's interesting for me listening to all this is, like, I had this quote that I pulled from a Mike the Snare video about Aphex Twin, who in some ways is similar, in some ways not at all. But
that's funny because I thought that the entire time. I was like, I could totally see Aphex Twin being like
the more melodic side of Aphex Twin,
right?
Yeah, which is kind of rare.
But in his video talking about selected ambient works, he said, "I know that for some, saying an album does not fully command your attention is considered a negative, but I need you to know that's not the case here." And it applies to that, and I think it applies to this. As someone who does enjoy listening to this actively, it's interesting to hear the other perspective, and in a way, I was kind of like that on the first couple listens, but how much I liked some of the songs and me preferring to listen to things in the context of an album really shaped this for me. Like, I can't think of too many other favorite albums of mine where I had the experience of like easing into it as opposed to like
just clicking with it automatically.
Clicking with it, yeah. And so I think it's interesting to talk about. It's interesting to hear the perspective on. And yeah, I'm glad I could kind of get you to listen to it, because I'm not sure you would have sought it out otherwise.
Yeah. In other words, it was good.
It was good.
At the end of the day.
To summarize all of that, it was good. AJ?
Yeah, so
yeah, it was good.
It was good.
So
A-. No, but I've had some history with this album, and I've always kind of liked it, but I think the more I listen to it, the more I enjoy it. More so on passive listens than active listens, but even still, I like just sitting down and listening to like whenever Roygbiv or Aquarius comes on, just vibing out. Because when I'm in a certain mood, this album really fucking hits, and I love it for that. They're able to create such unique and like interesting soundscapes with methods you would not expect.
No, really.
Yeah, and it's very impressive from a technical standpoint and from a creative standpoint. And there's little things to find upon every re-listen. And I'm sure discovering all the samples is also a rabbit hole entirely. That could just take up so much time. But yeah, they're just really good at what they do. And it's a perfect album when you're in a certain mood. So I'm going to give this about an A-. I like it a lot.
Another comparison before we wrap up, I just kind of wanted to make, kind of reminded me of like, do you know Animal Collective?
Oh yeah. They
I very much like, I can see them drawing a lot of inspiration from this record, like without a doubt.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially Panda Bear stuff. I mean, is the album comfy in Nautica? What's the person pitch?
I don't know Animal Collective.
I kind of do.
I only know the album cover, Merriweather Post Pavilion, that's it.
Well, when talking about other artists, I feel like I have to bring this up. So this is what Boards of Canada said about a certain band. Time to get the marshmallows on. Ween are so good.
Yay!
They're like 100 bands for the price of one. When I first heard them, I couldn't figure out if they were for real. Years later, I figured it out. Ween are deadly serious.
Nice.
that's sick.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Our boys.
And then I guess the other one was
sticker.
breathing.
Yeah, it is the sticker.
It's the
Matt's
sticker.
iconic Boognish sticker.
What'd you just call him?
Matt's iconic Boognish.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the symbol.
What did you think I said?
I thought you said he was a silly fella.
I did not say that. I promise.
I think Ben's trying to egg you on.
I do have a question though.
Answer.
When does Straw Hat and Old Dirty Hank come in the album?
I was missing my fix
I
on
was
that.
waiting for that the entire time.
Yeah. Both technically Canadian acts.
Yeah.
That's true.
What a callback too, though.
Yeah. And also, what a coincidence.
I mean, living in Canada for a couple years as a child and then naming your entire musical project, it counts in a way.
I guess, yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Well,
They certainly were not bare naked. I guess the people
Unfortunately.
in A Brief Affair were. Again, guess I have not saw.
But if you have
Only
the
true
link, please
Boards of
send it.
Canada fans.
yes.
have sought out the porno they
Question of the
sample.
week. Send us the link so we can watch.
So we know we can stay away from
No,
that.
let's have some class. Send us the VHS tape so we can experience it as
Our
intended.
address is the Family Album 123 at Boards of Canada Avenue. It's a crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
And we went to school at Pentatonics High, which
I
is
know.
right down the road.
Exactly. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Family Album. Ben and Evan, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Best of luck editing, man.
Yeah.
Thanks,
rough.
bud. I'll do my best.
We're clocking in at almost 3 hours. You know.
We sure are. It was good.
It was good. I think that really sums everything up.
Yeah, I think it was good.
It was good.
This episode was good.
Well, as always, I'm talking.
I'm sorry. I'm gooning.
I'm Evan.
Oh, fucking amen, dude. Bring it in.
That was fucking funny. Okay.
I appreciate it.
As always, I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
I'm Matt Glass.
I'm Ben Mascioli.
And I'm Evan Vandenbrul.
We'll see you next week on Tom Hates Albums. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate your love and support.
Peace.
Oh.